Hello, everybody. Good evening, good day. I hope you're doing wonderfully well, and welcome to this special World Cup episode of the Ask Abhijit show. So, I have a screen over here, right here, on which the World Cup match will be telecast live. I will watch it, and while the match is on, I may take some questions, maybe from the live chat, yes, and afterwards I will also take questions that you've asked in the comments. But before we do any of that, and I think the match is still about 30 minutes away. So let me see who all is there with us. As always, I can see Vladimir Biden, Ramesh Chand Jain, Manmat Tiwari, Summer Afternoon, My Lord, Sheetal, Manohar, Haripriya, Alpha, Shrestha, Rahul Singh, Hideki Ryuga, Totan Chaudhary, Arnav, Himanshu, Kuldeep, Ronak, Manmat, Martian, Malhar, Gautam, Varun, Siddhant Singh, Avnish, Arsh, Bhavesh, Librandu Detector, Shri Hari, Arkapan, Goshal, Samarth, Kasim Khan, Melvin, Yuvraj, Crazy Brain, Asminor, Herbie on Wheels, Shubhayu, Sandeep, IP10, Bhumika, Jay Chitralia, Ishan, Sky, Suhani, Sachin, Goldilock, Priyanshu, Discreet Ninja, Tigritude, Typical Gamer, Zhongjina, Sheetal, Nikhil, Mrinal, Andrei, Suman, Prakhar, Hindutva, Feminist Slayer, Chetan, Illuminati Creek, Joy Sharma, who else? Lots of people. Anuj, Vishnu, Joy, Dungar Singh Chauhan, Vladimir Putin. Always good to see Mr. Putin. Rajat, Pamel, Ketan, Knocker B, Bhavna, Priyanka, King Kong Un, Trupti, Tanishk, Pankaj, Rakshit, Monish, Piyush, and lots of other people. Thank you all for being on this telecast with me, Tejas, Somnath, Harsh, Albert Davis, Fatty Just Ate, Siddhartha, Sachin, Shura. So, Subject 93, and lots of people. So, yeah, thank you all for being on on this live broadcast telecast while a World Cup match is on. I really appreciate that. Uh, so yeah, it's still about 30 minutes to go. So let's take some questions. If you have questions, ask me, and I'll also take some questions from the comments that you have asked. Let's talk. Let's take a question about football. Omae wa omae wa mo shinderu nani and Alejandro Hernandez, Prashasta, and Sumit. So talk about Indian football. Why did football fail in India, and so on? Why did should the All India Football Federation be blamed for football failure of India, or should the people be blamed? Of course, I love football, and I believe that if I had been born in another country, I would have been a footballer. And Sumit says football is popular in regions like Kerala, West Bengal, etc., compared to other places. Is temperature the main reason that football is not overall popular? So, Indian football. So, Indian football, I think football is very popular in India. Indian football, I mean, football has been popular in India for a very long time. I mean, India had qualified for the 1950 World Cup, yeah, and India had a history of doing well in the Olympics as well. In the 1952 Olympics, I'm not sure how well India did, but in 56, the Indian football team reached the semi-finals of the Olympics. Yeah, at some point in time, they even beat. I think they drew with France or beat France. So India had a good football team in the past. We have had a good football tradition, and so why did football fail in India? It's like if you can ask the same question about hockey. Yeah, India used to be the hockey superpower. Yeah, India has more Olympic goals in hockey than any other nation. And but it all went downhill from the 1950s and 1960s onwards. So that's all about the mismanagement of India by the people in power. Yeah, uh, no investment, no focus on sports. For any sport to succeed, you need to invest in that sport. You have to create the infrastructure, the coaching system, the support system. Yeah, and people need to have a certain level of prosperity to be able to afford to play sports. Yeah, in the case of hockey, you need certain equipment, you need specialized grounds. In the past, it used to be just grass, now it's astroturf. Yeah, you also need equipment, hockey sticks, the balls, the protective equipment that hockey players need to wear, all that. And And as we know, the hockey federation has kind of ruined the sport in India. And so similarly, I would say that's something that also happened with football. India had a very good football team. I mean, if you reach the Olympic semifinals, it means that you have a certain quality. Yeah. um, and the AIFF refused to send the Indian team to the 1950 World Cup. Can you believe it? India had qualified. I think they qualified by default or whatever, but India had qualified for the 1950 World Cup. And the Indian Football Federation kept on dilly dallying and dragging its feet and waiting until it was too late. And then they said, and FIFA, I believe, had agreed to put up most of the expenses for the Indian football team. They traveled to was it in Brazil, Argentina, somewhere there, the World Cup. So to travel there, the FIFA was willing to, you know, pay most of the money, give the money to AIFF. And yet the Indian Football Federation refused, for whatever reason, to send the team for the World Cup. They I think one of the reasons they gave is that we want to focus on the Olympics, or the Olympics are more important and more prestigious. What nonsense. So yeah, so India lost a golden chance to participate in the World Cup. We had a good team at the time. Yeah, we had a good team. So why did football fail? It's because of mismanagement. It's because of I mean, the way the federation has kind of neglected the sport. Very similar to what happened with hockey. uh, Hockey obviously is not a global sport, so India still does well. But yeah, India could be number one in the world in hockey if you just invest. um, Football, of course, you will see kids playing football all over the country. You don't need, I mean, cricket obviously is more popular in India than football. It's because it's all over the media. It's because it's been made, it's been elevated to the highest profile in all the sports in India. If you were to provide the same kind of coverage to, let's say, kabaddi, then kabaddi in a decade will become the most popular sport in India. It's all about the exposure on media and the coverage on media. And for a sport like kabaddi or football, you don't need much equipment. For football, you just need a ball. That's all you need. You can wear your regular sneakers or whatever, at the lower at the amateur level. You don't need to wear the specialized football boots, and even those are not that expensive. So compared to cricket, in which you need cricket bats, you need gloves, you need various other protective equipment, you need balls which are quite expensive, you need stumps, you need a specialized ground and all that. Compared to that, football is so much. I mean, you don't need much money to play football. So football should actually be a more popular sport in India from that perspective. And yet, because the media only focuses on cricket, that's why everybody wants to play cricket, because they feel it's more glamorous and there's more. And obviously, if you become a successful cricketer, there is more money in that. We do have a football league in India, the ISL or whatever, and there are some other competitions, tournaments that happen, but you don't earn much money from that. Even as a professional footballer, you don't make much money in India. And Indian footballers, for whatever reason, have not been able to break out of the country and play in foreign leagues, because there is not much exposure of the Indian leagues to other countries and all that. So I think it's all about mismanagement. Is it about temperature or anything? No. Actually, it's nicer to play any sport when the temperatures are lower. So from that perspective, I think football should be more popular in northern India, where the temperatures are on average lower than places in southern India. And yet you will find that football is popular in Kerala, obviously in southern India, and in the northeast of India, the far east of India, Manipur especially is a powerhouse in football. Manipur is a footballing superpower within India. Yeah. Um, and even West Bengal has a very old, long tradition, very glorious tradition of football. They have these teams called Mohan Bagan and Mohammedan Sporting, East Bengal. Yeah, all these teams, they have a very good tradition. Um, and I think football, I'm sure it's popular everywhere else also, but we don't get any we don't get to see it. So what needs to happen is we need more investment in football. Yeah, there is this ISL, which is kind of like the Indian Super League, they call it, for football. I think a proper professional league should be 8-9 months long. It should not be a 1 month tournament or 2 month tournament like the IPL is played. If you want, I mean, it makes a lot of money. The IPL makes a lot of money, but it's not, in my opinion, a very serious sporting league. A proper league which truly develops the sport from the grassroots upwards. A proper league should be, the season should last 8 or 9 months. and there should be a 3 or 4 month of recovery period. That's how it goes. If you look at any other uh, nation, if you look at the Serie A in Italy, if you look at how the Brazilians have their league, if you look at the PSL, the Premier Football League, the Premier League in England, they have. I mean, I think the season lasts 8 or 9 months. It's an extended, drawn out thing. So that's how you do it. That's how it's supposed to be done, and you need to have various tiers. The top tier, and then relegation to a lower tier. There should be 2 3 tiers and all that. So it should be a very properly structured thing. And obviously the Indian Football Federation has not bothered to do any of that. Yeah. So football languishes, and that's the reason why football hasn't become a big thing in India. I think if the AIFF get their act together, they structure a league properly, yeah, and the right amount of money is thrown in. You don't need money from the government. Bring in private investors, yeah. You do it properly, you package it properly, you bring in. There's a lot of money in India, yeah. So you do it properly. Within 10 years, India can become genuine football power. At least at the Asian level, you have to start with Asia and then go to the world level. So I don't think there's any dearth of talent or anything. There's this myth that is prevalent in the minds of Indian people, that Indians are not athletic, Indians aren't strong. What absolute nonsense! How did India do so well in hockey, in football in the past? Yeah, even in cricket, we used to be told that Indians can't bowl fast. Indians should bowl spin. But the people of the same DA, the Pakistanis, they can bowl fast. Then they should tell us that no, it's because they eat meat and Indians don't eat meat. I'm sorry, Indians also, there are lots of Indians who eat meat. And today, if you look at, I mean, yeah, fast bowling, right? I mean, look at the fast bowling attack of India and Pakistan today. I think in 2020, India had the most dangerous and scariest fast bowling attack in the world, even scarier than the Australians. I mean, we beat Australia twice on their home soil using our fast bowlers. So all these are all myths that have been constructed to make Indians feel inferior. That's not the case. Look at our weightlifters. Look at our wrestlers. Now we are becoming at least reasonably good power in the Olympics when it comes to wrestling and weightlifting. Even our girls are doing so very well. Yeah, and so it's all about money. It's all about investment. I mean, if you look at India, the people of India physically, we are taller and stronger than most people in Asia. I mean, compared to the Chinese, the Koreans, the Japanese, Indians are taller and stronger. Look at the videos that come out from the LAC and see, on average, you have a bunch of Chinese soldiers and a bunch of Indian soldiers. Just take a look. Who looks stronger, taller, fitter? So please disabuse yourselves of these limiting beliefs that Indians are, not strong, not athletic. Indians can do anything. Yeah. So that's the deal. Uh, it's not the people of India who should be blamed. What are the people to do? What are the people to do? People want to play football, and people play football. Kids play football everywhere. Especially when a big tournament is on, you'll see kids playing football all over the place, in every street corner. So the people want to play football, and there'll be a lot of talent if only it is, if it is nurtured and invested in. You'll find a lot of talent. There's talent all over the country. I think there's enough talent in the country to have 10 world-class football teams, not just one. Yeah, a small, tiny state like Manipur produces incredibly good footballers, and they have had this sporting culture, this culture of sports. So that sort of thing should be inculcated elsewhere also. And with so little investment in the far east of India, in the northeast, there's even less investment than in other parts of India, and yet Manipur does well. Manipur produces so many footballers who play for various clubs and leagues all over India. So there's talent everywhere. So it's not the people of India who are to be blamed. It's the system that's to be blamed. So yeah, that's the answer to this question. Football, yeah, thus far it has failed, but I think if the proper system is set up and the proper kind of infrastructure is created, investment is done, then within a decade, India could be a footballing power. It's just waiting to happen. Okay, SR, whatever. Who is your favorite footballer of all time? Well, I don't have one favorite footballer. I've liked many footballers, admired many footballers. So I have not seen people like Pele, etc., play. So I don't know much about that. I've seen some footage of Pele playing. Obviously, he was a great footballer. He is considered to be one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. But I have never seen him play, so I don't know. So from the, I'll talk about the ones I have seen playing, and one of the first footballers that captured my imagination was Diego Maradona. Yeah, tremendously gifted footballer, incredible genius level talent in football. He could do things nobody else could do. He could even get away with scoring a goal with his hand, which he did in 1986 against the hapless Englishmen. Well deserved, well played, sir. He obviously passed away some time ago. But yeah, so one of the first footballers who I liked a lot was Diego Armando Maradona. Who else did I like? From the 1990s, the first World Cup I kind of watched it was Italia 90, the World Cup in Italy in 1990. So from that time, I liked Diego Maradona. I liked Claudio Caniggia, who was also in the Argentina team. Caniggia was a guy with a lot of speed. You can think of him as an Argentinian Mbappe. Mbappe is known for his incredible bursts of acceleration, right? Nobody can catch up with him. He runs that fast. So Claudio Caniggia was like that. So I liked Caniggia. I liked obviously Maradona. From that time, I liked Marco van Basten, Ruud Gullit, and Frank Rijkaard, the three Dutchmen who played for AC Milan. Who else did I like? So from that, yeah, and obviously I liked Eric Cantona, wonderful player, French player who played mostly for Manchester United. Wonderful player. He's of Indian origin, by the way, Romani, French Romani. Cantona, very mercurial, gifted player, very interesting person. He's now an actor. He's an actor now. Very interesting guy. You can, I think there's a couple of one or two series in which he has acted, which is on Netflix. So yeah, Cantona was great. I really admired the way he played. Who else? Among more recent players, I obviously admire Messi, and who else? I also admire the way Cristiano Ronaldo plays. I don't like him as a person. He's very selfish, self-centered, egoistic. Not a good. I don't like him as a person. I may be wrong. It's my opinion, but yeah, as a player, you got to admire his work ethic and his style of play and his record of playing at the highest level for so many years. You got to admire that. So Cristiano Ronaldo, yes. Messi, obviously, he is the likely successor to Diego Maradona. Once Messi retires, we'll be able to look at him, from a more holistic perspective. But yes, he is Argentina's successor to Diego Maradona. He is also somebody who has performed for so many years, and maybe that's why I am kind of inclined to support Argentina, because this is most likely Messi's last World Cup. It would be nice to see him retire with the World Cup. Yeah. So yeah, and who else? Zidane. I liked Zidane. Zidane was a great player. He carried France in the 1998 World Cup. Indians, for some reason, support Brazil a lot. Yeah, I remember I watched the 1998 World Cup final live. I was in a hostel auditorium with a whole bunch of students, and it was me and a boy from Iran. The two of us were supporting France. Everybody else was supporting Brazil, and by halftime, everybody was quiet because Zidane had scored two headers. It was 2-0 by halftime. France won 3-0, I think, at the end of the day. So that was a good World Cup. So I liked Zidane. I liked what was his name? Uh, Ruud van Nistelrooy. So that guy played for Manchester United. Very good player. I also liked Thierry Henry of France, who played for Arsenal. So I have had. I don't have one single footballer who I hold above everybody else. If you want me to give just one name, it may be perhaps Diego Maradona, but he did not perform at the highest level for a very long period of time. At least in a way I saw it. He obviously played for Napoli, I believe, in Italy, and they loved him very much there. They loved him so much that when Argentina played Italy in the 1990 World Cup, I think it was in Napoli, was it? And the people of the city came out and supported Argentina just because of one guy, Maradona. And I think Italy ended up losing that match. If I'm not mistaken, it was in Naples, most likely. Yeah. So yeah, it's that's interesting, isn't it? So maybe if you want to ask me just one person, maybe it would be Diego Armando Maradona. But I have admired lots of footballers. I'm a big sports aficionado. I've never played football except at school level. As a kid. That's not serious. So yeah, I don't- usually don't speak about sports, but I've been a big sports fanatic. Not fanatic, but sports buff. Yeah, I really enjoy sport. I followed sport. I watched the Olympics, track and field. I even played cricket at a certain level, because in India there's no other option. Even if you want to play football, nobody wants to play football. So you can, if you can't beat them, you got to join them. So then I played cricket, and I used to be a bowler of various kinds. So yeah. Um, so yeah, that's about my favorite footballer of all time. Now let's take some questions from the live chat. I'm sure people are saying lots of things. Neapolitan pizza. I'm sure Neapolitan pizza is wonderful. Yes. Let's remove this. Yes. Mm, who will win? Prediction. Well, I obviously my team isn't playing. India isn't playing. So from that perspective, I'm a little bit neutral. I have in the past supported France in the 1998 World Cup. I supported France. So yeah, when your team isn't involved, you tend to support some other team for whatever reason. Now, if you so in the 1990 World Cup final, I supported Argentina because I wanted Maradona to win one more World Cup, and obviously that did not go as I wanted it to go, because Germany won that World Cup final 1-0. It was a penalty, a questionable penalty that was given to Germany after 80 minutes. I think it was Andreas Brahme who was fouled apparently, and the penalty was taken by Rudi Voller, if I'm not mistaken. And Lothar Matthäus was the captain of Germany. So who will win? I would like to see Argentina win just for Messi because I like the guy. I also like France; they've got good players. And if France wins, then they will be one of only the third team, if I'm not mistaken, to retain the World Cup title. Uh, I think it was in the 1930s, almost a century ago, that Italy won two consecutive titles, World Cup titles. And then I believe Brazil also in the 60s and 70s won two consecutive World Cup titles. And it's not happened ever since. So if France win today, then they'll be the third team to successfully defend their World Cup title. And if they lose, then Argentina becomes a three-time winner. Argentina have won two World Cups before, 78 and 86. 86 was all on the back of Diego Maradona. So yeah, Uruguay. Has Uruguay defended their championship? I think Uruguay has won two, if I'm not mistaken, long time ago. Uh, they aren't a major force today. Uh, Right. So that's how it is. Argentina will win. Let's see. Sunil Chetri takes Ronaldo. Sunil Chetri is a wonderful player. He even played for a bit, I think, in North America, in the US, and I think he performed quite well. I've seen some footage of Sunil Chetri playing in some match in North America, in the US, and he played very competently, very well. He clearly was at the world class level, but unfortunately, because of the system, he could never break out of India. And yeah, Sunil Chetri, wonderful player. Baichung Bhutia, wonderful player. So we've had really good players in India, and there are many other good players. Uh, my favorite sport. I played cricket. It's not quite my favorite sport. I don't have one single favorite sport. I like contact sports. I like to watch boxing. I like to watch MMA. I like wrestling. Wrestling is fun. Yeah, weightlifting is fun. And yeah, even tennis I used to watch in the past. Nowadays I don't watch tennis anymore. It's become really, I don't even know who are the top players these days. In the past we had good players. We still have Nadal and Joker, right? Djokovic. Federer retired, but apart from these people, I don't know who else is there. So yeah, views about boxing. Yeah, boxing is a good sport. MMA nowadays is more exciting. It's a more 360-degree contact sport. Boxing has it's only about the fists. You can't use any other part of the body. In MMA you can use essentially any part of the body and use any technique you want, including wrestling techniques and punching techniques and kicking techniques and grappling and jiu-jitsu and whatnot. MMA is fun. I enjoy watching MMA, mixed martial arts. Who's my most favorite cricketer of all time? Well, I used to be a bowler. Who would be my? I once again I would not have one single favorite cricketer. I think the scariest bowler I've seen was Jeff Thompson. You all may not even have heard of it. Go to YouTube and search for Jeff Thompson's bowling footage. My God, he was frightening. He consistently bowled above 160 kilometers per hour. You know, he consistently bowled above 100 miles per hour. Shoaib Akhtar and Brett Lee and all, they were nothing compared to him. So yeah, Jeff Thompson was a frightful bowler, frightfully scary bowler. And obviously, if you talk about fast bowling, Curtly Ambrose, he was never the fastest bowler, but good God, he was brilliant. He was like a machine, bowling machine. So yeah, Curtly Ambrose, uh, Shane Warne, yeah, for sure. Shane Warne. Anil Kumble was very frustrating, especially in one-day matches. Every over he'll bowl one bad ball. But yeah, he's one of the greats. Among batsmen, Viv Richards. I'm sure most of you have not seen him, but he was great. Viv Richards was great. Um, Among Indian players, maybe Lakshman, VVS Lakshman. Um, I like Srinath, even though he was very unfortunate a lot of time. But he was once in the 1999 World Cup. Srinath was the fastest bowler in the world, without a doubt. Really fast, even faster than Shoaib Akhtar in '99 in that World Cup, in that one World Cup. Um, Among today's cricketers, who do I like? In the Indian team, I like Bumrah, but I don't know where he is right now. I like Jadeja, really hardworking guy with limited talent. He's become one of the best all rounders in the world. He's gonna be remembered as one of the best of all time. Rahul Dravid, obviously. Am I missing somebody? I'm sure people will not be happy with some omissions. That's how. Yes, Dhoni for sure. MS Dhoni for sure. Great player. Um, King of swing, Jimmy Anderson. I really like his bowling action. It's a pleasure to watch him bowl. Very nice bowling action. As a person, I don't like him very much. He's kind of a prick. But yeah, Kohli. Yes, yes, he's not no longer that good. But there was a time when he was really, really good. Kohli. Yes. Any memories from '83? I did not. I don't have any memory of '83. I did not watch the World Cup or anything. So yeah, I don't have any memories of '83. Kapil Dev was great. Kapil Dev was great for sure. He was one of the great bowlers, great all rounders. He could have been a much. He could have achieved much more as a batsman, but that's okay. That's how it goes. Kapil Dev was great. There was this guy called Prabhakar. He did not really perform. If you look at his record, it's kind of average, but he was a very interesting bowler, and so on. I'm sure I've missed out a lot of people, but yeah. So I had lots of players I liked watching. Bumrah is injured. Yes, Bumrah is injured. Any South African player? I liked Fanny de Villiers. I'm sure nobody remembers Fanny de Villiers. He was a bowler. I first saw him in '93 or so. The first time I saw him, he was bowling. He had a black eye. For some reason, he had a black eye. Fanny de Villiers. Very, very interesting character and a good bowler. So I liked Fanny de Villiers. I do not like Donald as a person, Alan Donald, but it was a joy to watch when he was not bowling against India. Indians were very bad at playing fast bowling in those days. You bowl fast, Indians will get out. That's how it was. There was this match in Durban, I believe, when India was all out for 66. And I think half the runs were scored by Rahul Dravid. And it was not some extreme fast bowling or anything. It was just poor batting. So yeah, South African players, I would say Fanny de Villiers. I liked what was his name? Brian Macmillan, all rounder. He was good. Donald was good. Mm, AB de Villiers obviously was good. Sean Pollock was good for a while, all rounder. These days, I like that guy Marco Jansen, the left arm bowler. Yeah, he's good these days. Gibbs was good. Herschel Gibbs. Uh, yeah, they had good players. What about Mbappe? Will he be the next Messi? We will see. We will see if he will be the next Messi. He's clearly extremely talented. He has the speed, the acceleration like nobody else has. Very talented. He's still very young. I can see the players are about to kick off now. The World Cup final is about to start. Griezmann has the ball. I think France has won the toss and they're going to start off. It's about to start. Yeah. Want a podcast with Praveen Mohan? I'll try and reach out to him. Let's see. Where's this question? I saw a question which disappeared. Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson? Well, I haven't really seen Muhammad Ali play box. I've seen some old footage. He clearly was obviously one of the greats, one of the very greats. I think many people consider him to be the greatest boxer of all time. But I have seen Mike Tyson boxing. My God, there was nobody scarier than Mike Tyson. He was just about 6 feet tall, 6'1". He was one of the smallest heavyweights of all time. My God, Mike Tyson was ferocious, scary knockout power. He would knock you out within seconds. That's how he was. Eventually, age catches up with you, and then he lost his title and all that. Then he had some problems with the law and all that. But yes, among the boxers I have seen, I rate Mike Tyson the highest. And the era in which Muhammad Ali played, it was not that physical compared to how it was during Mike Tyson's time. It was. So if you see Muhammad Ali's physique, it's nowhere as impressive as that of Mike Tyson. So the physique also used to be different in those days. But yeah, Muhammad Ali had some great fights. His record is incredible. Yes, he fought some really enormous and scary guys, and he defeated them through strategy, through tactics. That's not easy to do when you're getting punched. There's a saying, right? I think Mike Tyson said this, that you can come with the best plans in the world, but the moment you're punched in the face, all the plans go out of the window. So it's really impressive that somebody can stick to a strategy and tactics and plan A, plan B, etc., in the midst of a boxing match, a boxing fight, 15 rounds or whatever. So yeah, so very impressive, Muhammad Ali. But from my perspective, from what I've seen, Mike Tyson, I think nobody can match him. These days, you have Tyson Fury. He's a very interesting character. I mean, he doesn't look like a boxer. He looks like, I mean, he's overweight. He's a fat guy like he himself says, and yet he's the champion. He's the world champion right now, the world heavyweight champion. Uh, Tyson Fury, very interesting character. So now the World Cup match has started. Final match. It's 2 minutes in. Argentina has the ball. Argentina is wearing their traditional light blue and white shirt. And yes, they are attacking. Argentina is attacking right now. Messi has the ball, and it's in the box. Oh, good save, good save. So, what's the guy's name? I think their new striker. He tried a shot on the goal. It was on target, but the goalkeeper, the French goalkeeper Hugo Lloris, saved it. So yeah, interesting start to the match. Interesting start. Adam Gilchrist, yeah, he was exciting. He was fun to watch. He was fun to watch. Adam Gilchrist. Some of his innings are very interesting, very hard-hitting batsman, very exciting batsman. Scored very fast. Some of his Ashes innings are very interesting, fun to watch, especially against England. Yeah, I kind of liked him. Yeah. Do I like Conor McGregor? I think he's very interesting. He's very exciting. It's always fun to watch him. He. There is not a single boring moment when Conor McGregor is either talking or fighting. Yeah. These days he has lost a few matches. His record of late has been a little patchy. He lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov, the Dagestani Russian fighter. So that kind of, and then he lost to, what's his name, the American guy also recently. I think he suffered a leg fracture in the middle of the fight, Conor McGregor. And now he is back to training. He has put on a lot of muscle mass. So he has gone up, I think, at least one weight category. So yeah, I think, and he has this walk, right, which he copied from Mr. McMahon of the WWE. So yeah, he's a very interesting character. There's never a boring moment when Conor McGregor is is on the screen, either talking or fighting. And I think he's also interesting. He's got an entertaining social media presence also. Yeah, so yeah, I kind of like him. Khabib is the best. I think Khabib is one of the greatest of all time. In MMA, my personal favorite used to be Fedor Fedor Emelianenko. He is from a generation before, but yeah, one of the greatest fighters I have seen. Fedor, he was a heavyweight. He was also one of the smaller heavyweights, but good God, he could destroy fighters. So my favorite personally was Fedor Emelianenko, but Khabib obviously is one of the best. He never even bled. Another Argentinian shot on target, saved by the goalkeeper. It was an easy save. Khabib, the thing about him is that in MMA, when you fight, most fighters bleed. I have not seen a single fighter who has never bled, but Khabib, I have never ever seen him even shed a drop of blood from his nose or anywhere else. I've never seen him bleed. And yeah, I think most of his fights, I think he won all his fights. I, I'm sure he played more than 30. He fought in more than 30 fights, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure what the record is. More than 30 fights, most likely in MMA, in UFC. He won every single fight, and he retired after defeating, I think, Justin Gaethje, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so Khabib clearly is one of the best of all time. Um, Roger Federer, really, really pleasing to watch. The grace, the elegance with which he played, incredible. But also, you could see the hard work that he has to put in. It's not enough to have talent. You need to have hard. You need to be able to work hard. Nadal isn't the most elegant player, the most pleasing player, but you know he puts in the hard work. Djokovic also, but Federer was the most pleasing to the eye, most elegant tennis player I think I've ever seen. So yeah, I really used to admire Roger Federer, and yeah, now he obviously has retired. High time, because he was not winning of late. Do I watch chess matches? No, I don't have the patience. I used to play chess as a kid. Then I gave it up because I may have been good, perhaps, but I gave it up because it takes too much time. And watching chess is like watching grass grow. It's like watching grass growing. Some chess, if you watch speed chess, it may be interesting, but I've never really watched a chess match. So yeah, I don't watch chess matches. 30-0. Are you predicting the score? 30-0 would be a would be exceptional. Uh, have I played kabaddi? I think I played kabaddi a few times when I was a kid. I would have been good because I'm rather large and I'm rather strong. I've always been physically strong, and yeah, in terms of strength, I always had this advantage over most kids in terms of height, in terms of the physical strength. I was always a strong kid. And my grip is rather good. So in kabaddi, you need a good grip. You once you, yeah. So I remember when I played kabaddi a few times. Once I caught somebody, the guy could not escape. So yeah, a few times I played kabaddi. Have you ever built muscle, not just fitness, but proactively? Yeah. I had a good physique before the pandemic. Then 2 years until recently, I haven't even gone back to gym. Almost 2.5 years. Yeah, so I've kind of lost that muscle mass. And I did a few bouts of fasting, extended fasting. I did a 21-day water fast, a 23-day water fast. And about a year ago, I did a 14-day water fast. You do that, you're gonna lose muscle. So right now, I've kind of lost some of that muscle mass. But yes, I really enjoy lifting weights. It's really, I mean, it's one of the pleasurable things in life, going to gym and lifting heavy weights. So I really enjoy that. So if you see my on this channel, I have this video in which I give an introduction to the Aryan invasion theory. It's at a book launch, a book launch, a double book launch by Shrikant Talagiri and Dr. General GS Bakshi. So if you see my physique there, it's like rather large compared to what it is right now. So I need to get back to gym and start lifting weights regularly again. I think in 3-4 months I can most likely regain that large physique that is something that's kind of natural to me. So yes, I have enjoyed building muscle. It's good fun. So yeah, I've done that in the past. Yeah. Who's the greatest athlete of all time for me? Maybe Usain Bolt. Maybe Usain Bolt. Good God, that guy was spectacular. Yeah. Uh, how many Olympics did he win? I wonder. Usain Bolt. He the Beijing Olympics. When was that? 2008. Then you had the. So I think 3-4 Olympics he was the champion. So I would say perhaps Usain Bolt is the possibly for me the greatest athlete of all time. Can you think of somebody else? Michael Phelps. Interesting. Yeah, Michael Phelps is another great champion. Uh, who also, and then there was Thorpe, yeah. Yeah, but I think Michael Phelps as a swimmer was better than Thorpe. Thorpe was Australian, Phelps was American. Maybe Michael Phelps, yes. Geo Cinema is buffering. Good God, what is wrong with this? This is the problem. Is anybody else? I'm using Geo Cinema and it's buffering now. It's dead. That's not a good thing in the middle of the World Cup. Uh, yeah, so yeah, it's back on. Alexander Kellerin. No, I have not heard of this name. Sounds like a Russian name, but yeah, not sure. So Usain Bolt won 3 times. Yes. Okay, what's my favorite FIFA World Cup? 2010, 2006, 98, 2014, 2018. I did not. I think 2006. I watched the final. It was Italy versus France, wasn't it? And it was the infamous headbutt by Zinedine Zidane on Marco Materazzi. Marco Materazzi ended up scoring 1 goal, and then he riled up Zinedine Zidane by saying certain things, and Zidane lost his cool and he headbutted him. So yeah, but that was not that fun of a World Cup. I think my favorite World Cup that I watched was '98, most likely. Most likely. 2018 was in Russia. France won. That was an interesting World Cup. Lots of goals. Yeah, that was also good. 2014 was in Brazil, wasn't it? And who won the 2014 World Cup? I remember. Germany won the World Cup. They defeated Brazil 7-1 in, I think, a semi-final. That was a fun match to watch. About 5 goals in about 10 minutes. Ridiculous, incredible. So there have been many good World Cups. 2014 was interesting. 2018, lots of goals. Yes, France played really, really well. 98 was good. I enjoyed that as well. So yeah, I don't have one favorite World Cup. I enjoyed several World Cups. Goalkeeper is injured. He seems to be doing okay. Good God, the Argentines are really playing well in the box, in the French box. Good. Greatest female athlete. Now that's a good question. Greatest female athlete. Um, Greatest female athlete. If you talk about, I would say Florence Griffith Joyner, but she is known to have taken performance enhancing substances most likely, and she died at a very young age, which kind of happens when you take certain substances. So maybe not her. Who else do we know of as a great female athlete? Uh, Merlin Ottey was good, but she never won in the Olympics. Maybe Steffi Graf, maybe Serena Williams. Some of them come to mind, but yeah, good question. Greatest female athlete. I'm not able to think of anybody from track and field or any such thing. So maybe one of these ladies, maybe Steffi Graf, perhaps, or Serena Williams in tennis, perhaps. Good question, interesting question. Makes me think. Uh, PT Usha, Maria Sharapova, Sabati J. Are you talking about Gabriela Sabatini? PT Usha was one of India's greatest athletes, uh, especially female athletes. I'm sure we have many more who will come up in the future. Maria Sharapova was, yeah, she won a few Grand Slams, but I would not call her the greatest of all. In tennis, I would not call Maria Sharapova to be the greatest tennis player I've seen for sure. Georges St Pierre, yeah, he was a great fighter. I've never seen any of his matches live or anything, but yeah, he's considered to be one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Yeah, among the greatest. So yeah, I think he's clearly one of the greatest of all. Not, I would not call him the greatest of all, but one of the greatest. Georges St Pierre. Um, my views of on Andrew Tate. Well, I haven't really seen any of his videos as such. I'm aware of his existence now because people ask me about him. But I know that he's got very controversial opinions and all, but I haven't really seen his videos. I don't watch podcasts because it takes too much time. Just like watching a chess match, I'm sure there's a lot to learn from podcasts, but I really am so busy these days. So I don't know. So I don't really know much about Andrew Tate to give an answer. Maybe if I find the time, I'll watch maybe a couple of his podcasts and then form a more informed opinion. Yeah. Mary Kom, one of the greatest of all time. Yeah, good point. I think she's a five-time world champion in boxing. That's an incredible achievement. So yes, clearly, I would say her achievements are greater than that of PT Usha or most athletes in the world. I mean, winning a world championship, I think 5 times. Even if it's 4 times, it's incredible. So yes, one of the greats, one of the all-time greats worldwide, I would say, Mary Kom. Uh, Nadia Comaneci, yes, the Romanian athlete, gymnast who is now an American citizen. She's the first gymnast in Olympic history to score a perfect 10. It was in the 70s, I think. Yeah, so Nadia Comaneci is considered to be one of the legends in gymnastics. Romanian athlete, gymnast, one of the greats. Best puller of the ball, Rohit Sharma or Ponting? Ponting. Ponting was a natural puller of the ball. It was an instinctive shot for him. Even for Rohit Sharma, it is, but I would consider Ponting to be a better puller of the ball, puller and hooker of the ball. Margaret Court, 64 Grand Slams. Did she win 64? That's a superhuman achievement. I think Margaret Court is the, if not the number one, most likely the person with the highest number of Grand Slam wins. Argentina is doing really well. Boom! It went over the goalkeepers. Yeah, they're doing well, Argentina. Margaret Court may be one of the greatest, but I've never seen her play, so don't really know much about her. Who's my favorite cricketer in India right now? I really like Cheteshwar Pujara, old-fashioned cricketer, but I really like him. I also like Jadeja. Um, Ashwin, I really admire Ashwin. I think Ashwin has been kind of treated very unfairly. He was dropped. He has been dropped for so many matches he could have played, especially test matches. If you look at Ashwin's record, it is better than the record of Imran Khan, better than the record of Wakar Yunus, better than the record of Wasim Akram. And he's an all-rounder. He's scored, I think, 5 test centuries. Ashwin is one of the all-time greats. And he must have been made to miss at least 20 test matches just because he was benched. So I would say Ashwin. Oh, you're saying about you're asking about female cricketer. Female cricketer. Female. I don't really watch that much female cricket. There's this new girl who is a bowler. What's her name? Radhika something. She's a good bowler. Thakur, Radhika Thakur. I think that's the name. Then the current captain. What's her name? Harleen Kaur. Then there is the Smriti Mandana, the left-handed batter. We have good talent. Uh, I forget the names. I don't watch female cricket much. Maybe I may have watched it briefly, but there is impressive talent among our female players as well. That's a good question. Yeah. So I would say that new girl who bowls, the bowler, she's a very good player. Renuka Thakur. Renuka Thakur. That's right. Julan Goswami, one of the all-time greats, fast bowler. I mean, one of the fastest female bowlers we've ever seen. Yes, and Harmanpreet Kaur, the captain, she's a very very good batter. Renuka Thakur, yes, that's right. Favorite badminton player? Uh, Obviously, I will support PV Sindhu, right? I think she could not play the latest world championship because of injury, but she was the previous world champion, and she's performed well in the Olympics too. I think we're gonna have better players in the future, badminton players. India is already becoming a major force in badminton. Oopsie daisy. Giroud. Yeah. So the French are now attacking in the Argentinian the, in the box, and one header just went over the goal. Good, interesting match. So yeah, Julan Goswami, favorite badminton player. I would support PV Sindhu. Saina Nehwal was good. Saina versus China. It used to be, the only player who could challenge the Chinese. Um, Apart from that, I've not really watched badminton much. I remember I once watched Pulela Gopichand. win the all England championships or something against a Chinese guy. I think his name was Chen Hong or something. Mithali Raj, I think I've heard of her. She was really good. If I'm not mistaken, she must have retired by now. Yeah. Um, what else? Axelson, Lakshya Sen, Lee Chong. Lee Chong Wei was a really good player. I think he still plays if he's not if he's not retired. Lindan, good player. PV Sindhu, yeah, these are all good players. Uh, yes, I know of Amelia Earhart. She was an aviator, a female aviator who disappeared, and they've been trying to find the wreckage of her plane, or trying to find out what happened to her, and it's still a mystery. Yeah, so yes, I've heard of the story. Uh, Bryant or LeBron or Curry, Steph Curry, James, Bryant, Kobe Bryant. I don't really watch uh, basketball much. I'm aware of these people. Michael Jordan was one of the greats. Do we have a penalty? No, we don't have a penalty. So yeah, I don't really watch basketball that much, so I don't really know among these who would be the best. I think Michael Jordan was most likely one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. But I haven't really followed basketball that much, so can't say. Right. Oh, Lee Chong Wei undergone cancer treatment. That's unfortunate. I hope he's fine. I hope he is doing better. Do I watch pro wrestling? I as a kid I used to watch WWE. It used to be called the WWF in the past, a long time ago. I don't watch it anymore. We know it's all scripted. It's more entertainment than wrestling. So I haven't watched wrestling in about 20 years. The WWE. Well, oh yeah, we have a penalty. We have a penalty. Messi is about to take a penalty. Good God, what happened? All right, let's see what happens. Messi, big pressure on his head. The hopes of an entire nation are on his shoulders. Come on, Messi. Messi usually takes a very soft, very gentle penalty. Usually. Let's see how he goes this time against Hugo Lloris. Here we go. Senior Messi, you gonna do it? And he scores. Argentina are 1-0 up. All right, it is advantage Argentina in this World Cup final. Messi has scored from the penalty spot. Awesome. And they're all now trying to kill him by jumping on top of him. I hope he survives the hurdle. All right, awesome. Argentina are 1-0 up. But it's still 22 minutes in, so it's early days in this match. France are very capable of bouncing back from this. But it takes a lot of mental strength to take a penalty. It was a soft penalty, as always. A very gentle kick. I mean, relatively gentle kick. But yeah, he did it. He has done his duty, given the first goal for Argentina. Good. Now let's see how France respond to this. This is going to be interesting. Favorite javelin thrower, Neeraj Chopra. There used to be this German guy, I forget his name. I think he coached Neeraj Chopra, who is the all-time world record holder, 110 meters or so. In the past, javelins used to be lighter. I think now they're heavier. So when the old standards were in play, that's when he threw it about 110 meters or so. I think that record will never be broken. But in today's world, obviously, my favorite javelin thrower will be Neeraj Chopra, our guy. Yes. Take my question. Why do they let Rishabh Pant play in most of the matches when there are several better players? I think Rishabh Pant is one of the. See, from a batting perspective, there are very few like him. He reminds me of Adam Gilchrist, especially in test matches. I mean, a guy who is so attacking, you would expect him to play well in 2020s and one day matches, but he performs at the test level, which is kind of paradoxical. Even Virender Sehwag, people expected he would play really well in limited overs cricket, but he was a great test match player. So yeah, sometimes it's paradoxical. I would say that Rishabh Pant is one of the best batsmen in the world right now. Very attacking batsman. He can change the complexion of a match. Uh, in one session in test matches. Yeah, and maybe that's the reason why he is being favored as a wicket keeper. He isn't the best. I'm sure there are better wicket keepers in India compared to Rishabh Pant, but are those wicket keepers capable of batting like Rishabh Pant? I'm not sure. People talk about Sanju Samson. I've not seen much of him. And Rishabh Pant is a young guy. I think one typically wants to invest in one player, especially at the test match level. Like the Australians, once they found Gilchrist, they did not consider any other player, any other wicket keeper. Yes. When they had Healy, they stuck to Healy. Similarly for India, Dhoni obviously was one of the greatest wicket keepers too, but a great batsman as well. So I think you got to pick one player, stick to that person, give that person the chance. And I think Rishabh Pant is a world class player, especially in test matches. So maybe that is the logic. That's the reasoning behind picking him. You keep on picking lots of players, especially the test match level. There is no continuity, and there is a kind of instability. You want to have a more or less settled team. At least some key players should have some longevity. So maybe that's the reason why. I'm sure there are many other players. So if you can give some names, it will be interesting to see that. Coco underrated. You know, as a kid, I think I've played Coco once or twice. I may be completely wrong here, but I always saw it as a girls' game, a girls' sport, because girls used to play it all the time. Right. Oopsie daisy. French free kick and French corner now, I suppose. Yeah, so I always saw Coco as a girls' sport. I may be completely wrong. I'm sure boys, men also play it. It's if you were to ask me which is my favorite Indian sport, I would 100% say kabaddi. Kabaddi is more exciting. It's faster. It's a contact sport. You need to have some brawn, some physical strength, and also some finesse, some technique. There is strategy and all. But yeah, Coco, I'm sure it's very popular among lots of people. But nowadays, I don't know where the sport is. It's definitely not telecast anywhere. I'm sure India has lots of indigenous sports that are kind of being marginalized right now. And Coco is one that was quite popular. I don't know how it is now. All right. My favorite chess player. Well, if you maybe maybe Gary Kasparov. Definitely one of the people I admire is Vishwanathan Anand. Bobby Fischer, I heard, was a chess genius. The American who renounced his American citizenship. Yeah. So yeah. Why does no one talk about Northeast India? I think I spent some time just a few minutes ago talking about Northeast India. Manipur is within India one of the football superpowers. Yeah, and in the Northeast, far east of India, there's a lot of football talent, and football is extremely big over there. So yeah, and the Northeast, the far east of India is beautiful, wonderful people. What a wonderful diversity of different kinds of traditions and cultures, beautiful indigenous culture, and so on. So wonderful place. I think the Northeast needs to be promoted. It's our gateway to Southeast Asia. uh, there is so much potential for development, for tourism and other things over there. So I hope to see a very bright future very soon for the various states in what we call Northeast India. It's actually the far east of India. Don't you rate Brazilian football? I think Brazilian football is wonderful. They have a great tradition of football. Uh, some really incredibly great footballers, like obviously like Pele. People talk about Pele, but also Ronaldo, the original Ronaldo. Today we have Cristiano Ronaldo, but we had a Ronaldo before him. So that guy Ronaldo, the one who played in the 2002 World Cup final and he won that final, that guy was brilliant. And Ronaldinho was brilliant, one of the geniuses. Roberto Carlos, have you seen the free kick? Everyone talks about the free kick. Roberto Carlos. We had Cafu. We had many other players. I'm not a huge fan of Neymar, but yeah, I do rate Brazilian football. They have a wonderful football setup, great footballing tradition. It's part of their DNA essentially. Yeah, and Brazil tells you don't have to be huge physically to play great football and to be champions. The Brazilian players are average height, average physique. but they are wonderfully gifted. I mean, they play great football. So yeah, I am fond of Brazilian football for sure. Do I follow climbing? I am aware of climbing. I don't really follow it, but it's a good fun sport to watch. Rock climbing, either on an artificial wall with those artificial things, or actual climbing. Mountaineering. Yeah, and one of the greatest climbers of all time is an American guy of Indian origin. His dad is Indian. Sharma. His surname is Sharma. Chris Sharma or something like that. He's one of the greatest climbers of all time. Yes. Best mind game, maybe chess. Maybe chess is the best mind game, perhaps. Carlson or Kasparov? I think Carlson could end up being greater than Kasparov, perhaps. Uh, these guys are from different eras. Kasparov was from the 1980s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s as well. He retired in the 90s, but when Kasparov was a young and upcoming player, I think Anatoly Karpov was the world champion, and Kasparov beat Karpov in a legendary world championship match. You know, the first it was adjourned and cancelled once. I think they played, I don't know, 30, 40 games, all were draws. First, Karpov first won 3 or 4 games. Then Kasparov was a very attacking player. He changed his strategy completely. He he adopted a completely defensive game, and he essentially started learning from Karpov. So Karpov became Kasparov's teacher. There were this series of draws, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 draws. Both the players became completely exhausted, emaciated, and this world championship had to be adjourned, and then it was played again, and then Kasparov won. So yeah, that was a legendary World Championship match. So Kasparov has done things that Carlson most likely still hasn't been able to emulate. But maybe by the time Carlson is done, Magnus Carlson, maybe he may be the greatest of all time. Perhaps. What do I think of American football? I don't really follow American football. I think it's a very dangerous game. They have to play wearing helmets and all, and there are all these studies that have come out that demonstrate that all these players, they suffer lots of brain damage and all that. So I think it's a dangerous game. I think it's a dangerous game, and just for people's entertainment, you should not get players hurt. So it's like the gladiatorial sport which you had in ancient Rome. Kill people for the public's entertainment. I think American football maybe is too violent of a sport. Maybe there's too much brain damage. A player who plays for a number of years typically will have demonstrable brain damage. Lots of concussions, lots of head injuries. I'm sure a similar situation may also exist in rugby. So I don't really follow American football. I think it's a really violent game. It may be entertaining, perhaps, but and it's I believe quite similar in some ways to rugby. Yeah, Mikhail Tal, Boris Spassky, some of the older great players in chess. I don't. I'm not really very familiar with their achievements and all. Certainly, I've heard the names. Yeah. No, no. I refuse to be drawn into controversies. I shall be diplomatic and not answer this question. Sorry, no, no, no. I'm not going there. Horse races. I've never watched horse racing. I've never been interested in that. So I think horse racing is all about gambling, more or less. Yeah. So not sure. What about F1? Senna, Leclerc, and Indian Zehan Daruwala. Never heard of Zehan Daruwala. Not sure about Leclerc, but Senna. Senna was one of the greats. Ayrton Senna, the Brazilian. There was a time when it was Ayrton Senna, and who's the French guy? Who's the French guy? Senna versus. I forget the French guy's name. There was this rivalry between Senna and Michel Prost, was it? I think his name was Michel Prost. Yeah. These two guys had a great rivalry. And Senna was brilliant, but unfortunately he lost his life very early. 1994, Imola, if I'm not mistaken. Senna died in a car crash in that F1 race. I think it was in 1994 in Imola, if I am not mistaken. So yeah, Senna was great. Was a great F1 driver. Where did football originate? So the modern game of football, association football, I think it originates in England. But obviously there are many nations, many cultures in the world that have played various kinds of ball games, including uh, playing with the feet. For instance, in ancient America, in the ancient Americas, in Mesoamerica, there was this football kind of game, they used to play. And the winner would have his life sacrificed. That's how it used to be. That's what historians say. It was a privilege to win and then sacrifice. Oh god. 2-0, 2-0. Yes, 2-0. Angel Di Maria, he's a great player. Angel Di Maria, fantastic. 2-0. Argentina are up. This is beginning to become a disaster for France. Difficult for them to come back from this. But we have seen teams come back from 2-0 down in this World Cup itself. Uh, Argentina were 2-0 up against the Dutch. And the Dutch managed to come back to 2-2. They obviously lost afterwards, but yeah. So wonderful play. Argentina are 2-0 up now. Angel Di Maria is a wonderful player. Very talented player. And he has scored a rather easy goal, but very good play. And once again created by Messi. Once again, Messi has a hand in this or a foot in this. So yes, Argentina now seem to be holding a very strong upper hand. Now let's come back to this question: where did football originate? So many cultures, including India, have played ball games, including games that involve playing with the feet. But the modern game of football originates in England, association football. Yeah. But even you could even ask, where does cricket originate? So the modern game of cricket originates in England, and yet Indians used to play with balls thousands of years ago. If you there is this episode in the life of Shri Krishna, Lord Krishna, when he was a kid, when he was a young boy, he was playing a certain game, ball game, on the banks of the great Yamuna River. Yes, and the ball goes and falls in the water, and in the water there is this great serpent who lives there, Kali Nag, and Krishna goes down into the water to retrieve the ball, and then the snake, he's got like 10 heads or something. He's asleep, and his wives tell Krishna not to disturb the snake. Don't disturb him, let him sleep. But Krishna wants the ball. He goes there, and then there is this fight. You know the story, right? So what game was Lord Krishna playing with his friends, with his companions? It was a game of bat and ball that they were playing. So once again, the true origins of certain sports may lie in deep antiquity, in cultures that are not the ones that are supposed to be the ones where it originated. So the modern game of football clearly originates in England, association football. And I think it was in rugby that they started picking up the ball with their hands, and that became the sport of rugby as well. Do I watch stand up, especially any Indian comic? Oh, I if you want me to name an Indian comic, I would name Russell Peters. He is of he's of Indian origin, but he's not Indian. He's Canadian. So I don't really watch stand up. I really enjoy Russell Peters and his stand up act, but we've seen it all. Uh, any Indian comic of today, I think the Indian comics are very. I'm sure in the old days there used to be a great stand up comedy tradition in India. It was called Hasya Kavita. It used to be in Hindi and various Indian languages, and it used to be poetic but funny. So India has had this tradition for God knows how many centuries. When it comes to the modern Indian stand-up comics, whether the ones who speak in English or in Hindi, I don't see any real talent in there, because it should make me laugh. It should be really funny. And it sh- the thing about comedy is you don't make fun of a specific set of people. You make fun of humanity as a whole. You make fun of human nature. You don't make fun of certain individuals based on political inclinations or all that. That's not funny at all. And these days you have really unfunny comedians who who have this habit of moralizing and preaching from the pulpit. So that's why I find Indian comedy very off-putting. I am sure there must be some good comedians which I have not discovered, but because many of these so-called prominent comedians are so off-putting and so unfunny, because of that I don't follow Indian stand-up comedy. I don't see any real talent among the ones on whom the limelight is being thrown. I'm sure there is genuine talent all across India when it comes to comedy, and I hope really good talent in the Indian languages comes to prominence. That'll be great. But right now, I don't really follow stand-up comedy. It's really boring and really unfunny, and it's annoying the ones who are prominent. But when it comes to Indian origin guys, I think Russell Peters is ridiculously funny. Yeah. Uh, yeah, you bet. You bet, sir. Once again the question, and once again I will very diplomatically say I will I no comment, no commentito, senor. uh, why are people asking the same questions over and over again? Come on. Do I watch cartoons? I used to watch cartoons as a kid. I used to love watching cartoons as a kid. uh, in the old days, when I was a kid, you had Disney, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. I watched various Japanese cartoons which you may not remember at all. There was this series called Robotech. It was manga. Robotech was wonderful. It had, I don't know how many episodes. I used to watch that as a kid, as a teenager. Um, Various French dubbed cartoons, Japanese cartoons dubbed in French. I used to watch. You will not know any of those. Um, DuckTales, if anyone remembers from my childhood and all. These days, I don't know what people watch. Yeah, I don't know what Shinchan is. I don't know what Power Rangers are. uh, do I watch anime? I don't watch anime these days. So yeah, Pete Sampras or Andre Agassi, without a doubt, Pete Sampras has a better record. If you look at the overall achievements, Pete Sampras beats Andre Agassi hands down. One of the greats, all-time greats, Pete Sampras. How many Grand Slams did Andre Agassi win? Not even, I'm sure, not even half of that of Pete Sampras. So overall, one has to give it to Pete Sampras. Yeah. What is the origin of the Dogra people? What is the origin of the Sindhi people? What is the origin of the Himachali people? What is the origin of the Bengali people? What is the origin of the Rajput people, of the Tamil people, of the Kannada people, of the Telugu people? The origin of all the peoples of India is India itself. That's it. I don't get why people want to know what is the origin of a special little subset of Indian people. If you look at the genetics of India, we all have the same genetics. The skin color and all those outward characteristics are unimportant. The genetics are very, very, very similar, alike, whether you're in Afghanistan or whether you're in Tamil Nadu or in Sri Lanka. Yeah. So the origin of all the people of India is India itself. India is the out of Africa founder zone. The oldest genetic lineages which are non-African are all Indian. Haplogroup F in male lineages, haplogroup M and N in female lineages. The oldest haplogroups, non-African haplogroups, are Indian haplogroups. A haplogroup is a genetic lineage. The haplogroups M and N are about 65,000 years old, 65,000 years old. They originated in India. And similarly for the haplogroup F, which is the which more than 90% of non-African males across the world derive their genetic lineage from the haplogroup F, which is of Indian origin. So the origin of the Dogra people is within India, same as the origin of all other Indian subcontinent people. Yes, that is the answer, my dear friends. And the reason why people ask this question is because we are taught that India is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial nation, which is absolute nonsense. Um, am I aware of Islam Makhachev? Yes, obviously. He's the Dagestani, is he? Dagestani MMA fighter, one of the upcoming fighters who defeated, what's his name? Who defeated that guy? I forget the names from time to time. There's so much data in this head. uh, he defeated the Brazilian guy, right? Recently and became the champion in his weight category. So yes, I'm aware of him. Good fighter. Used to love Jetsons on the Cartoon Network. I am aware of the Jetsons. It's but I never really watched it. Yeah, uh, Dexter's Lab was fun. Dexter's Lab. Courage the Cowardly Dog, wonderful. Gravity Falls, if anyone has heard of it. There used to be some really good, you know, cartoons. Hey, no need to say sorry. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Ask any question you like. Uh, Cyrus the Great versus Ashok the Great versus Chinggis Khan versus Alexander. Cyrus Kurush Vazrak, Kurush the Thunderous, uh, one of the greatest of the Hakshamanish emperors of Persia. Uh, he fought the Greeks on occasion, if I am not mistaken, if my memory serves me right. One of the great unifiers, one of the great creators, one of the founders of the Persian Empire. So yeah, definitely great. Uh, Ashok, clearly the greatest Mauryan emperor, greater than his grandfather Chandragupta Maurya, because he created this enormous unified empire in the subcontinent, unified the entire subcontinent. He finished the job that his grandfather had set out to do. So Ashok, definitely great. Alexander was a warlord, a brutal barbarian who whose only objective was to conquer because I have this ego and I want to show that I'm the best. Yeah. So yeah, he is one of the great conquerors, but he cannot hold a candle to Chinggis Khan. If you want to ask about the greatest ruler, it's a different story. If you want to ask about the greatest conqueror, it's a different story. The greatest conqueror of all time, without question, is Chinggis Khan. And Chinggis Khan operated on a set of principles. He did not randomly go and conquer because he felt like conquering. All his military campaigns were retaliatory in nature. After he became the great Khan, the Khagan of the Mongols, yes, all his campaigns were retaliatory in nature. It was he was on this quest to find justice for his people, the Mongol people. Uh, and yet he ended up conquering more territory in 20 years than the Roman emperors put together had conquered in 300 years. So you cannot. There is nobody that you can compare Chinggis Khan to. Nobody. Alexander is nothing compared to Chinggis Khan. Uh, well, Cyrus and Ashok were more of unifiers than conquerors. Yeah. I am sure if Ashok had decided to go on a on a conquering spree, he may have been able to do something like maybe like the others that you mentioned. But Ashok was not interested in conquering foreign lands. He was interested in unifying India, the Indian subcontinent, which he succeeded in doing. And then he ruled in peace. And Cyrus also was not, he did conquer territories and all that, but he also is more of a unifier. So that's how it is. These are very different personalities. If you want to compare, maybe you could compare Cyrus and Ashok to a certain extent. And yeah, you can compare Chinggis and Alexander, but Alexander is nothing compared to Chinggis Khan. Chinggis Khan was the greatest of all time, legendary, incredible guy. Ah, yes. Thank you. Charles Oliveira. Yes, Oliveira. That's correct. That's who Islam Makhachev defeated rather easily. Rather easily. Which sport is the oldest? I promise you, the oldest sport in the world is some form of martial art. Two guys who may be friends who want to see who's better. Let's see. So we will make a set of rules and then let's go. So typically, it's going to be martial art. It's maybe boxing or something more, that involves a full body kind of movement. Kicking, punching, all that. So I think the oldest sport is most likely some form of martial arts with some rules. Hopefully, some rules, because otherwise you're going to end up killing someone or maiming someone. Marathons. Well, yeah. Uh, I remember watching one marathon once in my life. It was in 92 Barcelona Olympics. And obviously, I was at that time in India, and this marathon was going on. A marathon typically takes 3-4 hours. And Doordarshan, the state broadcaster, was broadcasting the marathon. So I followed the marathon in the evening, and I don't know who was winning, but I was kind of following 2-3 people, and at the end, it was very interesting. So at the end of the marathon, when the marathon is getting over, the last stage is when you re-enter the stadium and the last 400 meters you do in there, right? So at the point when the leaders in the leading group is about to enter the stadium, Doordarshan said, "Okay, aaj ki sabha samapt ho gayi." End of story. It was about 12 o'clock in the night, and they switched off. They could not wait for another 2 minutes. That's the kind of practices Doordarshan used to have. So yes, that is an unforgettable moment in my life, watching that marathon. Uh, that's how it used to be. That's how bad Doordarshan was. I don't miss Doordarshan. Many people are nostalgic about Doordarshan. I don't miss Doordarshan whatsoever. Pro Kabaddi League, I am aware of its existence. I've never really watched it, but yeah, I'm glad we have a Pro Kabaddi League in which players get to play in a professional manner and earn some good money. That's how you develop a sport. It has to be something that can support you financially and hopefully make you reasonably rich as well. Why not? Why not? So yeah, it's good to have that. Did you watch Kantara? I haven't watched Kantara. I hear it's a good movie, but I haven't watched the Kashmir Files. I haven't watched Kantara. I watched RRR. Yeah, so Kantara I haven't watched yet. Maybe I'll try and find some time. I think it's on one of the streaming services nowadays. So maybe I'll watch it. Yeah, I hear very good things about it. Obviously. Um, what other questions do we have? Do I think Qatar should pay reparations for our workers? Why should they do it? Do I think they should do it? Yes, they should, but they will not do it. There is no justice in the world, my friends. The rich and the powerful will do what they can and they will get away with it. The greatest crime in the world is poverty and weakness. And don't blame others. You should know how it happened. You should know how it happened so that it doesn't happen again. But don't blame others for it. So you know, I have been saying this for the longest time that the reason for India's backward, whatever you want to call it, backwardness, poverty, all that, is the past 1,000 years of foreign occupation. That is the cause. But and obviously the responsibility for the plunder, the pillage, the genocide, all of that lies on the shoulders of the foreigners, the Turks and the Europeans who did this. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we were caught at the wrong time when we were weak and we were disunited. It is at the end of the day the fault of the leaders of India at the time. That India should have had a powerful emperor who could have unified the nation. If it was that case, then none of these foreign invasions would have succeeded. So from today's perspective, it is imperative, it is non-negotiable that India should rise in strength and in prosperity. The greatest sin is weakness and being poor. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it happened. If you are weak and if you're poor, you will be exploited. Okay, it is halftime. It is halftime, and Argentina are 2-0 up. Great. If they win, I'll be happy for Messi. I don't have any soft corner for the nation of Argentina or France. Look at their histories, very interesting histories. We will not talk about that today. It's all about colonialism. Anyhow, the thing is, I like Messi as an individual and as a sports person. So it will be good if he can retire on a high note, which it looks like it's going to be very likely now. 2-0 up. What do I think about Yuvraj Singh? Yuvraj Singh was an extraordinarily talented cricketer, very very good batsman. Who can forget 2007, the in South Africa, the T20 World Cup, that match against what's his name? What the English Stuart Broad bowling, and the Yuvraj Singh hit 6 consecutive sixes. Yes, so yeah, incredible talent. I think he could have done better with his fitness for a very long time. At least in the second half of his career, he was kind of overweight. Kind of reminds you of Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma is an incredibly elegant player, very talented player, Rohit Sharma. But from the way I see him, he is the Indian version of Inzamam ul Haq. Inzamam ul Haq was a great batsman, but he was always overweight. There was this very infamous incident There was a match in Canada, a one-day match between India and Pakistan, and there was this Indian guy in the stands in the audience who had a loudspeaker, and he was taunting Inzamam, calling him potato, alu, alu, alu. And Inzamam got so furious he took a bat and tried to beat the guy up. Should have been arrested for that actually. But anyhow, so Rohit Sharma kind of reminds me of, he's like the Indian version of Inzamam Mulak for me. He's overweight. I mean, as a sports person, you should not be overweight. Anyhow, so even Yuvraj Singh was kind of overweight for a very long time, the second half of his career. So I think if he had taken care of his fitness properly, he would have maybe achieved more. Yuvraj Singh, but definitely a great cricketer, and definitely the hero of the 2011 World Cup. Yeah, and it later emerged that he was actually suffering from a form of cancer at the time, and despite suffering actively from cancer without knowing it, he was the star performer for India in the 2011 World Cup as an all-rounder, even as a bowler. So yeah, one of the greats in limited over cricket, in one day matches and 2020 matches. Not quite that much in test matches, even though he had a couple of good innings. I think he scored a wonderful century against Australia once in a test match and all. Yeah, so yes, that is the score right now. Curious Monk has updated us. France 0, Argentina 2 at halftime. What went wrong with Tiger Woods? Well, certain personal life issues crept up, and Tiger Woods is most likely the greatest golfer of all time. Incredible sports person, great achievements. Uh, his father was African American. His mom was from Thailand. Yes. What went wrong? I mean, what went wrong is that something went wrong in his personal life. His wife divorced him. I think he had some sex addiction or something like that. Yeah, and his wife divorced him, and then he had some injuries and all that. Now he's obviously no longer a young man. I'm not sure if he's still active as a golfer, but yeah, his record is obviously one of the greatest of all time for sure. Um, what do I think of Pakistan's recent atomic bomb threat to India? हमारे पास atomic bomb है. Atomic bomb. I think it's cute. I think it's a cute thing to say. Atomic bomb. Let's talk about something. We have JEE in 1 month. No, look, if you hope to prepare for an exam like the JEE in in 1 month's time, it is likely to fail. To prepare for something like the JEE, you need to have a 1 year time frame and prepare systematically over a period of 1 year. Every day, spend like 3 hours a day. That is very much feasible compared to spending 12 hours a day for a month. That will burn your brain out. So, the thing is, don't put too much pressure on yourselves. I know it's a high stakes exam. You want to get into the IITs and all that. Good God, what am I seeing on the screen? No, 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 no. I cannot unsee that. Why? Why? Anyhow, we will not talk about that. Who's my favorite Gulli Danda player? Well, I think I played it a few times as a kid, but yeah, I'm not sure if there's any professional league or so. So I don't know. I don't know. Gymnastics and ice skating. We have a good gymnast. That girl, right? What's her name? Deepa Karmakar or something. Uh, she came fourth in the Olympics once. Um, Gymnastics is a good sport. Yeah, you need to be light in body and very, very, very flexible. So it's not for everybody. Certainly not for somebody like me. I'm too large. I was always too large for gymnastics. But yeah, if you are short, if you are slim, and if you're flexible but strong, then gymnastics is great. Ice skating, there is the rhythm. Yeah, ice skating is also, it's also a niche sport kind of. It's got its own place in the pantheon of various sports. Yeah. Is Sri Krishna the greatest human being of all time? Maybe one of the top three human beings of all time ever. Yes, for sure. We consider him to be a god today. He was a historical figure. He was a flesh and blood human being. and he lived thousands of years ago, and we still worship him today. So imagine the impact here he had. Clearly, one of the all-time great human beings of all time. Imagine remembering somebody for thousands of years. And Lord Ram came thousands of years before Lord Krishna. So yeah, these are two of the greats, maybe the top two of all time, perhaps. Yeah. Do I like the Beatles? The Beatles were never. Obviously, they're a great band. I I've never spent too much time listening to the Beatles. They had some nice songs, but not exactly my taste. I don't dislike the Beatles. Uh, which bands were my favorite, or kind of still are? Pink Floyd for some time. I was really obsessed with Pink Floyd for some time. Nowadays, I don't listen to Pink Floyd. It's too. I mean, it's brilliant for sure, but it's kind of dark and gloomy. Much of their music, Pink Floyd, is about mental illness and dark themes and depressing themes and all that. So despite the music being brilliant, I don't spend a lot of time or any time at all listening to it. Some of it is very interesting, like some of it has sci-fi connotations, philosophical connotations. There is a song by Pink Floyd which essentially is a hymn to the the sun god, essentially. It's called Echoes. That's a great song. That's something I don't mind listening to again. The Pink Floyd have were one of the greats, but I would say, if you were to ask me my favorite band of all time, I would say Led Zeppelin, a band from the 60s, 70s, 80s, not the 80s, 60s, 70s, one of the great bands of all time ever. Yeah, Led Zeppelin. Beatles, not so much. Not so much. I did not find it. I don't know, intellectual enough. No, it's not only about Led Zeppelin is not intellectual, but yeah, it's great. So I don't dislike the Beatles, but it's never been one of my favorite bands for sure. All right, all right. Mm, what is One Direction? I think it's a boy band of some kind. Yes, One Direction. Yeah, I am not quite into boy bands. Uh, Linkin Park. You know, the thing about American rock bands is there are two kinds of rock bands when it comes to rock music. One is British rock bands, and second is American rock bands. American rock bands sound like noise to me. I have nothing against the people of America, but most American rock bands sound like noise, very loud and very noisy, and no nuance. I mean, so Linkin Park, I there is this one song that everybody plays that I'm aware of. That's one. There's this band called Green Day. They had one or two good songs. Eagles were a reasonably good band. I had their album Hell Freezes Over in the old days when you had those cassette tapes. I had that. Now I have MP3s somewhere. I'd ripped it out of the cassette tape. Yeah, so Eagles were good. Hotel California, everyone knows, and various other songs. Eagles were great. Um, Led Zeppelin, like I said, yes. Beethoven, good. Beethoven, obviously, that's classical music. ABBA, good band. Dancing Queen, that's not obviously my kind of song. Dancing Queen and Voulez-Vous and all that. Yeah. Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones. Somebody asked me about Rolling Stones. I saw it somewhere. Yeah. Rolling Stones. They had some good songs. Mm, what I forget the name of the song, but yeah, they had some good songs. But Rolling Stones too, once again, were not one of my favorite bands. Coldplay is okay. Oasis was good. A few of their songs were good. Oasis. Guns N' Roses were good for a while, and then they broke up. But Guns N' Roses, yes, it's one of the few American bands that I actually liked. Rock bands. Axl Rose, incredible, very unique voice. Yeah. And what's the guy's name? The guitar player? I forget his name. Great guitar player. The guy with the hat. The guy with the curly hair. Yeah. Um, Eminem. Yes. um, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, some good songs there. Yeah. Metallica, good, so good band, good band. Which European languages do I speak? I speak French. I understand bits and pieces of other languages. I can speak a few words here and there, few phrases. If you speak French, you understand many of the Romance languages, the Latin languages, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, yes, Latin too. So these are all very closely connected languages. So if you know French, you will understand a bit of Italian. I mean, if you especially written Italian and Spanish and all that. So mainly it's French that I actually, at one time, French was maybe my primary language at one point in time, a very long time ago. And because I speak English, I obviously understand a bit of German. English is, by the way, a Germanic language. Yeah, um, that's right. Please watch Death Note, the new one or the original one. I think the original one is better. Kira, Kira is it? Kira, and this is Shinigami, the creature, right? The spirit. Yeah, I think I've seen an episode or two. I think it was great. It was good. I don't really watch Family Guy. Is it funny? I watched The Simpsons a lot as a kid. Simpsons was good. Justin Bieber. I think Justin Bieber is actually a talented singer, but people are kind of focusing more on his personal life and his persona. I think he's a talented singer. As a kid, he was a very talented singer. The first song, what was it? Baby. Yeah, about 10, 15 years ago. He broke out as a big star because of that one song. Thoughts on Billy Joel? I think he won a Grammy at some point in time, or he missed out on a Grammy. I'm not sure. He had some good songs. We didn't start the fire and the river of something. He had some good songs. Good. More of a gospel singer or something, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Do I like video games? I don't really play video games. I had you know, I had one of the old PlayStations, PS2, I think, and there was this game I used to play. Dynasty Warriors was one, and then there was this car game, car racing, car crashing mode of. I used to play that. So yeah, so I as a kid I never had access to video games. I was an 80s and 90s kid, so in those days we did not have video games. At least I did not have access to any. So I suppose if I had access to those, I would have been enjoying that. But yeah, so I had a PS2 for the longest time. I used it more as a DVD player, but I played a few of those games, and these days I don't really play any games. Yeah, so yeah, but I'm sure it's fun. It's fun to play. Favorite Led Zeppelin song? I think Led Zeppelin 4 is the favorite album. Lots of good songs. The Rain song is good. Very, very interesting chords they've used. Very interesting, very pretty blues chords. The Rain song. Then there is the Immigrant song. It's a Viking invasion song essentially. Stairway to Heaven. I think most of the 80% of the music is wonderful. And Led Zeppelin is considered to be the original the band that created heavy metal music. That's what that's the perception that people have of Led Zeppelin. And yet about 40% of their songs are acoustic guitar. They had very eclectic influences. Led Zeppelin were influenced by Indian music, by Middle Eastern music, by Celtic music. Lot of folk influences in Led Zeppelin. That's why it's such an interesting band. Very talented and very unique musicians, all four of them. The lead singer Robert Plant is half Romani. His mother was, like he said, a gypsy, so he has Indian origin. His wife was Anglo-Indian. His kids are all, they look like half Indian kind of. So yeah, very very interesting band. Issue in my mic. Hello, can you hear me? All right. My views on Andrew Huberman's podcasts. I haven't seen any of his podcasts. Podcasts take a lot of time to watch, but I hear he's very popular, and I'm sure he's got very interesting information to share. I saw some clips of his on Joe Rogan. Interesting guy, definitely very interesting guy. Definitely very knowledgeable, very well read, very accomplished researcher. So yeah, uh, Let's see, what other questions do we have? How to increase weight? Eat more than you need to. If you are at a certain weight, you only have to eat more. The more calories you put in, the more weight you will gain. Obviously, you should not eat junk food. Eat the right kind of food. Hopefully, something that is clean, something that is not processed, and get some adequate protein. And your every source should be either clean carbohydrates like lots of vegetables, or rice, or wheat, or fat like ghee, or if you eat meat, whatever, that sort of thing. And if you want to increase weight, go and lift some weights in the gym. Go lift weights. You're going to put on muscle if you do. I'm Nishant. So you're a boy. You're a male, right? So if you eat more, if you eat clean and you eat more protein, and let's say you spend 6 months in the gym on a proper weightlifting program, you're gonna gain weight. You're gonna easily gain weight. Yeah, that's how you do it. I mean, everybody has a different kind of metabolism. And all, some people find it easier to gain weight. Some people find it harder to gain weight. Some people are called hard gainers and all. But you need to find out what works best for your body. And I'm sure if you find the right program and the right dietary plan for yourself, you will gain weight for sure. Lalitaditya versus Chinggis. See, Lalitaditya went and conquered much of Central Asia. But so definitely one of the great conquerors. He conquered a lot in one lifetime. Yeah, he conquered Tibet as well, but Chinggis conquered more. I don't think there's anybody in human history, in recorded or known human history, who has conquered more territory than the great Chinggis Khan. Yeah. So there is it's a no contest essentially. My views on Avatar: The Way of Water. I haven't watched it yet. It just came out. I mean, a few days ago, 3 4 days ago. I haven't watched it. I think if I find the time, I will go and watch it. I watched Avatar one. I think I watched it twice in the movie theater. Twice. It was that good. Not the story, but the visualization, the picturization. The first 3D movie that I saw, and yeah, the way it was filmed in the scenery, etc., the way the moon is depicted, Pandora. It's so pretty that you don't care if the story is not good enough. The story was also kind of okay. It's a white savior story at the end of the day, but yeah, it was really a pleasure to watch, a visual pleasure, and the music was great. James Horner, I think he passed away. So and I hear good things about Avatar too. I think it's visually even a better spectacle. It's even a bigger treat than the previous one. So I think hopefully, and if you look at the reviews, I think the reviews are all mainly positive. So I think it will be worth watching. So maybe if I find the time, I'll go and watch it. Most likely, I will. Can one increase one's height after the age of 19? Most likely not. I think you grow until the age of 18, 19, maybe 20, but your main growth spurt is after the onset of puberty. So that's around 13, 14 until 17, 18, 19. After that, I think if, as far as I know, obviously I'm not a biologist or anything, but as far as I understand, after 19 it's kind of difficult to increase height a lot. In some rare cases you may be able to do it, but not much. But that's okay. Listen, your height doesn't matter. What you do in your life, that's what matters. There are many great people who are short. There are many great people who are tall, but usually it's shorter people who did more, I guess. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's how it is. Height matters. I don't know. I mean, there's no harm in being tall. I would never. I it's never. It's not a disadvantage to be tall, but it's not a disadvantage to be short either. You know, we don't live in a world where you have to be a warrior to succeed in life. Your physical abilities are not that important in today's world, right? So that's okay. So height doesn't really matter. Of course, if you are tall, it gives you a psychological advantage, I suppose. Yeah, people feel great if they're taller and stronger than others, I suppose. But it's okay. It's not a big deal. There are many tall people who did not achieve anything in life. Yeah, I can assure you of that. And Monsieur Napoleon Bonaparte was 5'6". He was not a tall man. And I believe even Julius Caesar was not a tall man. Alexander is supposed to have been a shorty. Shorty, I mean no disrespect to anyone who's short. I'm just saying, yeah. So it's okay. Height doesn't matter. Okay, now the other iteration is size matters. Yes, if you're wide, broad, muscular, it may matter. It may make you feel good, and so on. And I will stop at that. Uh, I'm 6'4". There you go. See, who says Indians can't be tall? Of course, Indians can be tall. There are lots of people, lots of kids these days who are all 6 feet tall, 6 feet plus tall. Indians are overall getting taller, especially the younger kids. So yeah, it's good. Maradona 5'5". There you go, and so on. Perfectly fine. What's the ideal height? Your whatever height you get in life is your ideal height. Doesn't matter. There's no such thing as an ideal height. There you have it. Sachin 5'5". See? Um, all right. Dungar Singh Chauhan is 6 feet tall. There you go. See, another tall guy. Good. So it's fine. 5'10", 5'10" average. I don't know what's the average height for males in India today. Is it 5'10"? Maybe less. Not sure. Not sure what it is. It doesn't matter either way. Okay, average Indian male height is 5'7" right now. In a decade, it will be 5'8", 5'9", I suppose. Yeah. Manmat Tiwari is 6'1". Okay, some people are being funny. That's all right. Okay, somebody is 198 centimeters. Ankit is 198 centimeters. Ha Vai Kya Hal is 5'10". Amir Khan is 5. Right, all right, all right, all right. That's great. Okay. Okay, I'm not taking any more height questions. Radiohead is a good band. What's that song? That the greatest song that they had? It's Why do I forget the names of songs and all that? Creep. Radiohead Creep. One of the great songs, yeah. Vladimir Putin is a tall guy, correct? Radiohead is an interesting band, yes. Mac Per is 5'10". Why am I doing this again? Even though I said it's not important. Height versus looks. I think it helps to be good looking, of course, but you know what? There are lots of good looking people who achieve nothing in life. And there are lots of people who are not considered to be, from the classical perspective, to be apparently good looking, who are average looking, whatever, who do great in life. A person who is successful, people don't care what he or she looks like. Trust me. If you are successful, then no one cares what you look like. Many of the most successful people in the world, think of the people who you consider to be very successful, and ask yourself: is that person really good looking? Think of all the sports people who are successful. Was Diego Maradona a good looking man? I would say he was an average looking man. He was not especially good looking. What about what about Sachin Tendulkar? What do you think of him? He is considered to be one of the greatest cricketers of all time. Yes, and so on and so forth. So, what about Elon Musk? Is he a handsome man from the classical definition of handsome? Yeah, and so on. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. What matters is what you do with your life. That's what really matters. Sarcasm or wit, how to master them? I have no idea. I mean, I suppose some people are just born with certain qualities, wit, what do you call it, or sarcasm, and maybe some people perfect that over their lifetime. Most likely, these things are skills, and as with any skill, the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So, I think sarcasm is more of a negative thing compared to wit. So, how to master something? Practice, practice, practice. And try to figure out how it is done. Um, let's see. Elon Musk is an alien. Yeah, maybe it's possible. It's possible. My thoughts about Sujit Kumar Yadav. He is a wonderful player. Very, very interesting player. Very interesting technique. He's a 360 degrees player. Right now, he's playing better than Hardik Pandya, for instance. You know, So yeah, I think he's a wonderful player. It's good to have someone like him in the cricket team. Why was Ben Franklin's basement filled with skeletons? I think that's a question for Ben Franklin to answer, or for historians and investigators to answer. But yes, it appears that the guy had a cupboard full of skeletons, apparently. Yeah. Do you think Coup can replace Twitter? Why don't you use Coup? I have a Coup account. I had created an account. I don't know when. Year, 2 years ago. It was extremely user unfriendly. It was really frustrating to use. I don't know how it is now. When I tried using it, it was like a cheap. Listen, I'm not trying to disparage it. It was like an inferior knockoff of Twitter. There was nothing new or innovative in it. It was really hard to use. It was buggy. It was clunky. Um, I tried using it. I have an account. I'm sure you can Google it. But yeah, so like the past year or 2 years, I have not even looked at it. I'm sure I could revisit it. Um, so I don't know whether who can replace Twitter. If you want to replace Twitter, you have to be better than Twitter. If you do the same thing, then why should somebody move off Twitter and go to Coup? You have to offer something that Twitter can't offer. Something, some advantage, something better. And when a platform has an enormous user base like Twitter already has, it's really hard to convince people to move off it and go to another platform unless this new platform offers something that Twitter simply can't offer. So Coup, I think it's just like a replica in some ways of Twitter. And I believe some Indians are on Coup. And I heard that it was popular for some time in Brazil also. Yeah. So if it is doing well, good for it. We obviously in India we would need to have our own social media platforms. That's a good thing. So whoever has created Coup, I'm sure it's a good thing. I would like to encourage them. But my suggestion would be to make it user friendly. It should be a pleasure to use. It should not be like an annoying thing, and it should have something innovative, something that other platforms don't offer. Yeah. So if you can do that, it's great. So do I think Coup can replace Twitter? I think it'll be hard for it to do that. But if it happens, I'll be really happy. Yeah. Why don't I use Coup? Like I said, because it was really unfriendly, user unfriendly. It was buggy, clunky, not a pleasure to use. So I stopped using it. I'm on Twitter, and if Coup becomes good again in the future, I'll be happy to use it. Yeah. The thing is, you can't use it's you can't spend your time all day on social media platforms. You can have one maybe or two, but having a presence on like lots of different social media platforms, it's too much of a drain on your time. So ideally, someone like me, I would like to have one or two places. I have YouTube, I have Twitter, and I have an Instagram that is not very active right now, but it's there, and that's about it. I also have Facebook. This thing is going live on Facebook right now as well. Um, Also on Twitch. I have a Twitch. I think this is streaming live on Twitch as well right now. But yeah, but my main places are obviously YouTube and Twitter, and to a small extent Instagram. But it would be good to have Indian social media platforms. C versus Java. I've never used Java personally. I've used C. So C was fun. C was fun to use. C was something that replaced Fortran in the science community, in the physics community. So when I was a student, in university, I used C for programming, writing programs in nuclear physics and all that. So yeah, C was fun at the time. I'm sure Python is much more user friendly and much more of a pleasure to use these days. So yeah, so since I don't have any experience in Java, so I can't really say. But C was fun to use when I used it. All right. Well, I haven't seen it, so what can I say? If I see it, I shall talk of it. If I find it interesting. Okay, sir, I've replied to you. Go study for exam. I don't know what's happening these days on Twitter. Everyone wants me to reply, and if you reply, I will do this. Okay, whatever. Anyway, go for it, sir. Study. Yes, study. Whiplash. I think I've seen the movie. It was a movie about music. jazz music or some kind of music. It was a reasonably fun movie to watch. I think it was a good movie. It was an interesting movie, a different concept. I don't remember much of it today, but yes, it was a movie that I was able to see the whole of it, watch the whole of it, without getting too bored. Yeah, Whiplash. Aha, the main character, the protagonist, was a drummer. That's correct, a drummer. Yes, I have watched Whiplash. Yes, drum, correct, drum. Yes, I have watched Whiplash. Right. My views on Oppenheimer, the movie, the series, the guy. I suppose the guy. Well, he was essentially the guy who was in charge of the Manhattan Project, the American nuclear bomb program in the 1940s. That's the program that gave the Americans those two atomic devices that they tested on the Japanese people, on the Japanese civilian population. And yeah, Oppenheimer, obviously, he was not very happy with how his creation was used. He was a nuclear physicist, and then later on in his life, he was accused of being a communist sympathizer or something, and his career was kind of destroyed. Lots of ugly politics and all that. Yeah, and obviously in India, he's famous for his views, philosophical views. You know, when the first atomic bomb test was done, the Trinity test, when he saw the device explode, he was reminded of this of a verse from the Bhagavad Gita or something like that. Yeah, so that's why Indians are very fond of him, because he had this inclination towards Indian philosophy and Hinduism and all that. Yeah, so that's what I know of him. So what's going on? It's 2-0, 2-0, and Angel Di Maria has been substituted. He has done his job. He scored the second goal. Good job, sir. And if it is enough for his team, then he will be the happiest guy in the world. Good. So he has been substituted, and the match goes on. 2-0, 64 minutes in. Let us see. France is up against it. The French guys are up against it. They have their backs to the wall, and Argentina is attacking. Argentina is doing well. Messi has the ball, and the game is being played in the French half right now. Good God, Messi. Yes, interesting period of play. Oh, la 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 la. Dangerous. It's all defense for the French right now. Oh, handball. No? All right. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on in the match. Looks like the Argentines will win. Should I speak closer to the mic? Is this better? No, I don't think so. Okay. My opinion on the Moroccan behavior after their loss to France. I think the Moroccan players were reasonably well behaved, and that I will leave it at that. The Moroccan players were reasonably well behaved. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. I think we should watch MMA or boxing matches like this. Well, the UFC telecasts are typically in the morning for in India. Indian time, it's morning. It's typically in the US in the evening in the US American time. The US is like three or four different time zones, five if I'm not mistaken. They have a Hawaiian time as well. If it's in Las Vegas, then it's and in the evening over there, then it's early morning for India. So yeah, if you want, I do watch it on occasion. I usually miss that. Watch a replay or whatever. But yes, maybe we could do it in the future if you all are open to watching a live stream in the morning. Yeah, maybe. Um, any other question? Have you seen the movie Passengers? I have not seen the movie Passengers. I have not seen it. What do I think about MMA becoming an Olympic sport? You make MMA an Olympic sport, it's gonna get corrupted. For instance, if you see how what's happened to football, sorry, to boxing in the Olympics. If you watch the various matches, Olympic boxing matches, you will see a lot of cheating on the part of the judges. I don't remember. I think it was in 2012, the Olympic Games, 2012, London Olympics. There was this Japanese boxer. What was his name? I think his name was Satoshi Shimizu. Satoshi Shimizu. He knocked out he knocked out his opponent 10 or 12 times, and he was awarded a loss. Imagine knocking out your opponent 10 or 12 times, and then the judges say you've lost. That's what happened. There is a lot of cheating and corruption in the Olympics, at least in boxing. I've seen that. I've seen that personally with my own eyes. You can look it up. Go to YouTube and search for Satoshi Shimizu 2012 Olympics. It's ridiculous. And that's not the only one. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I think if you bring MMA into Olympics, it's gonna ruin MMA. Let MMA be out of the Olympics and be run by a private organization like Zuffa, and it's. I think they're doing a good job. I think Dana White is doing a good job of running the show. Yeah, I'm sure the players could be paid more. That's one criticism that one sees, that the MMA players are not paid anything like what professional boxers would be paid. For instance, a professional boxer, a top class professional boxer, can easily make 50 million, $100 million for one fight. I mean, really top class, like a world champion kind of guy. Uh, and even a reasonably good professional boxer can make a good income out of boxing. But when you see the fight purse for the MMA fighters, it's much lower than any boxer. So that's one criticism that has been leveled at MMA, at the UFC, and that seems to be a kind of valid and legitimate criticism. But apart from that, I think it's being run well, professionally, reasonably professionally. Of course, there was this one fight recently, Paddy the Baddie, who won against somebody, and clearly he had not performed so well. So sometimes you have these problems. That's something you have in every sport. But I would not like to see MMA come into the Olympics. I think they will ruin it. The oldie 98 years says you would not be able to focus anyway. Maybe I may not be able to focus because when you're watching a fight, your attention is going to be more on that. In football, I can talk while keeping half an eye on what's happening there. When it comes to a really good fight, it's impossible to not pay attention there. And so then I will not be able to focus here or there. So yeah, maybe MMA is not a good idea unless I just do commentary, but I don't know how to do commentary. Uh, have I watched Arrival 2016? I did watch Arrival. I like science fiction. I'm a huge fan of science fiction. As a kid, I used to read only science fiction initially. Then I moved to other genres as well. So yes, I am a huge fan of science fiction. I love science fiction movies as well. I watched Arrival 2016. I found it boring and pretentious. It's an art movie pretending to be a science fiction movie. So if you were to ask me, which is the most interesting science fiction movie I've seen in the past 10 years, I would definitely say Interstellar. Really good movie. Some of it was kind of the science. See, the last part in which the guy goes inside the black hole and then encounters God knows what, that is speculation. That's not really hard science. But apart from that, it was really good. The way they showed the black hole and all that was wonderful. So and the story was great. So Interstellar was wonderful. Arrival was pretentious and boring from my perspective, and lots of people will disagree with me, which is fine. Which is fine. But it was not a science fiction movie. It was an art movie. It was a fantasy movie trying to pretend to be a science fiction movie. And I think it's got good reviews and ratings, but from my perspective, it was not my cup of tea. I watched it only once. I think I've watched Interstellar at least twice on a big screen. Twice, I think. So yeah. What is Big Boss? Some reality TV thing. I have never ever watched a single episode of Big Boss, so I don't know. No idea. Sorry. You see a Stephen King book somewhere? My background somewhere? Could be, perhaps. I do have some Stephen King books. Uh, What are my favorite books by Stephen King? I haven't read a lot of Stephen King. I read this book, I don't know how many years ago. I think I read it in 2002 when I was in the US. It was called Bag of Bones. It was a ghost story, kind of horror story, a good story. Long, long, long book, lengthy book. It takes like 60, 70 pages for the real story to actually start. There's a lot of character building and all that, atmosphere building and setting, milieu building and all that, but good book overall. So I read Bag of Bones. It's a ghost story, horror story, not very scary. That's one that comes to mind. I'm sure I've read a couple more, but I don't remember which. I'm sure I have some books here and there, but yeah. So that's the one that comes to mind immediately. Stephen King. What are my favorite fiction books in general? I don't know. I've read so many books. They all kind of mix up in my mind. Um, Fiction books. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a fun book to read. It's science fiction, but it's funny. It's comedy science fiction and good story. That's a good one by Douglas Adams, the late Douglas Adams. That's good. Um, I would say The Lord of the Rings. I have read The Lord of the Rings many times. It's a huge, thick book, and the more you read, the more you discover about the story, the and the writer. So yeah, there are elements of white supremacism in it. There are elements of racism in it for sure. The deeper you go into it, the more you discover, what it's like. But overall, it's a great story. It's a very good story. So yeah, The Lord of the Rings, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know how many books I must have read. I've read a lot of books by Arthur C. Clarke. Some were terrible, like the Rama series, Rendezvous with Rama, The Garden of Rama, and all that. Really, really tedious books to read. I don't know how I finished those books, but some books by Arthur C. Clarke are wonderful. There's this short story called, what's it called? I forget the name. Um, the Hammer of God, in which they discover a comet which they call Kali, because that comet is on a trajectory to intercept the Earth. So that's an interesting story. The Songs of Distant Earth, lots of good books by Arthur C. Clarke, and I don't know. So my favorite genre for the longest time was science fiction. Nowadays I read all kinds of stuff, yeah, but nowadays I read more non-fiction than fiction. Marvel or DC? Marvel is all garbage these days. The last Marvel movie I saw was, what was it? Multiverse of Misery. I don't know. I don't even know what's the difference between DC and Marvel anymore. It's all become a blur. The Batman movies are terrible these days. Very dark, depressing, and gloomy. And you may find it surprising that I am criticizing Batman because lots of people seem to love Batman. If you watch as a kid, I watched the original Batman series. The original Batman series was from the 1960s or something. Yeah, and it was really funny. It was light-hearted. It was funny. It was positive, and it was not gloomy at all. It was not dark, depressing, full of misery. So that's how I had seen Batman. And then if you look at all these new movies, ugh, depressing, dark, gloomy, horrible. So yeah, Lady Thor with fake muscles. I mean, turning Natalie Portman into Thor, it's so disrespectful to the original mythology. There's this new movie I saw in which you had Thor and Zeus at the same time. Thor is played by that guy, and Zeus was the guy who played Gladiator. Zeus was fat and irresponsible, the king of the gods. The truth is that Thor and Zeus are the same god. Thor is the Nordic or Viking version of the Greek Zeus, which is the same as the Roman Jupiter. And the origin of all these divinities is the Indian Indra. It's the same god. You can't pit Thor versus Zeus. You can't put the same god against the same god. It's ridiculous how they have disrespected and distorted the original mythology. Yes. And then now they have a lady version of each so-called superhero. Horrific, horrific. I've stopped watching all this nonsense. Really, it's terrible. My views on Pablo Escobar. Yeah, one of the great drug smugglers, but not the greatest drug smuggler of all time. The greatest drug smuggler that ever emerged out of Colombia, most likely, Senor Pablo Escobar. He met. Uh, when he died, he was killed by the Americans, the FBI, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So the greatest Colombian drug smuggler. But do you know who's the greatest drug smuggler of all time? It is the Queen of the British, Queen Victoria. She was the greatest drug smuggler of all time. Pablo Escobar was not even 1% of what she was. So, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Bollywood versus Tollywood. So, Bollywood is no no. I don't watch Bollywood anymore at all. Garbage, absolute, utter garbage. Tollywood, what is Tollywood? There are lots of woods these days. Collywood, Tollywood, I don't know what else is there. I think it's one of the South Indian things, yeah. South Indian movie industries, yeah. So I would so I enjoyed what's the name of the movie, the Bahubali movie part. I saw the part two. I haven't seen part one. I saw part two. It was great. I liked it. Uh, do we have one more penalty? Do we have one more penalty? So I definitely am not a big fan of Bollywood anymore. They have been fooling us for decades. For decades, they've been fooling us. And nowadays, I'm glad to see that people are realizing that. And the quality is just abysmal in Bollywood these days. Who wants to see a 70-year-old hero pretending to be a college student? Yeah, hero. So, so yeah, I'm happy to watch anything apart from Bollywood. I don't care if it's a Telugu movie or a Tamil movie or a Kannada movie or a Bengali movie or a Tulu movie or whatever other language. Yeah, I think the South has taken over, and I'm really happy to see that. So it looks like the French have a penalty. So the French may be able to come back, and this will make the match really interesting. Mbappe is about to take a penalty. Come on, boy. Yes, sir. Keep your cool. It should be 2-1. I would like to see that. Will he be able to do it? Let's see. And he does. He does it. Yes, Mbappe scores a penalty. Ah, Monsieur Macron. Monsieur Macron is watching the match. He is there in person in Qatar. And he's like punching the air. And Didier Deschamps is happy now. Didier Deschamps is the coach of France. He was the captain in 1998, the World Cup winning captain. And Mbappe has scored. It is 2-1, which makes the last 15-20 minutes very interesting. It's going to be fun now. Will Argentina fall back upon defense or will they attack? That's the question. That's the question. Good fun. Yeah, this makes this World Cup final more interesting. The South is rocking these days. I'm really happy to see that. Everything was monopolized by Bollywood, by the Urdu film industry. Come on, enough of that. Enough of that. So I'm glad to see lots of great movies coming out of the south of India. Really good to see that. What was pre-Christian Europe like? What religion did they follow? They followed the old Indo-European religion, which was various different local offshoots of Vedic Hinduism. That's what it was. Multiple gods, polytheism, a pantheon of gods, and also the worship of nature, the worship of ancestors, all those things. So that's what it was. And obviously, they did not follow Vedic Hinduism, various local offshoots of that. And obviously, they had various local practices. And 2-2. 2-2. Mbappe scores a second goal. It's 2-2. The French came back from 2-0 down. It's 2-2 now. Would you believe it? Monsieur Macron is incredibly happy. What an incredible comeback. How did this happen? So Argentina have messed up. They have once again let go of a 2-0 lead. In their match against the Dutch, they were 2-0 up, and the Dutch were able to come back to 2-2. And now they have done the same thing against France. 2-2. Good God. What is wrong with Argentina? Breaking Bad, one of the greatest series I've seen in my life. I've watched it, the whole thing. Wonderful. Incredible. Great characters, great story. Nothing boring or annoying about it. Yes. So yes, it's one of the great series I've seen. Breaking Bad. So oh no, Messi! Now Messi's hands are no longer on the World Cup. Mbappe has scored twice in like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is. Yes, France is back. France is back. Good for them. I have watched Game of Thrones. It was really interesting. The first, I don't know how many seasons was it in total, 7 or 8. The last two seasons weren't great. The last season was terrible. They ruined the whole story in the last season. But before that, it was good. It's not for everybody, yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Game of Thrones, the original few seasons. Um, Argentina lost the 1990 final. Yes, we know. 2014, they lost to the Germans. Yes, and this time they are 2-2. They came back. I mean, they were winning, but they're now 2-2. So let's see if that record continues, or will they be able to come out again. Now they have to attack. If they had thought of defending, then that is now out of the question. They have to attack. So let's see what happens. They are attacking again, the Argentines, and let's see how that goes. But one thing is for sure, this has become a really interesting match now. Bang, bang, going on. Inception, I think I saw it, but I don't remember much of it. I think I have to see it properly to understand. It's a very, I think, complex story. Better Call Saul, I haven't watched it, so don't know about. Fight Club, great movie, fantastic movie. Fight Club. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, great story, great movie. One of the iconic movies from the 1990s. Uh, Peaky Blinders, I haven't watched it yet, so I can't say. All right. Mm, Unknown says, can one crack NEET in 4 months? It depends. If your basics are good, if you have, then I'm sure 4 months is enough to really go all out and practice the strategies and tactics. Just solving lots of old exam papers, or whatever strategy you want to use. So if your basics are good, if your fundamentals are good, then it's possible. But if you have to learn the fundamentals and then crack an EET, I think that's difficult. So as long as your fundamentals are good, your conceptually you are good in math and science and physics and whatever else, then I think it should be not very difficult to do it in 4 months. Right. What happens if the match is tied? If the match is tied at 2-2, let's say, it will go into extra time. So two halves of 15 minutes each. And if it is still tied after that, it will go to a penalty shootout. And then it will be decided one way or the other. That's how it goes. Um, Please watch the Peripherals. Peripherals. Haven't heard of it. What? It sounds like science fiction. I don't know. Okay, we'll see. Um, what else? Messi gave away the second goal. Bad, bad. Very naughty boy. Disappointing, sir. Disappointing. Um, Raga, best stand-up comedian in India. Who's Raga? I'm not aware of this in this person. Have I watched Dead Poet Society? No, I have not. Are there any other Hindu god parallels with different cultures other than Indra? The Slavs have this trinity, this composite god called Triglav, which is essentially Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and they have the same names: Brahma, Vishnu, Sivoy, or something like that. The Slavic peoples. So yeah, there are lots of parallels that you see in various cultures. Um, Matrix it's a great movie, wonderful movie. Matrix is a wonderful movie. I think I saw it twice or thrice in a theater. Yeah. Um, Uh, Big Bang Theory. I think I've seen a few episodes. The first season, the second season was good. Then I hear that it becomes they kind of ruined it. That's what I hear. I've not seen it. Yeah, I've not seen the later seasons. I think I've seen some of the episodes in season one, and I think people have this belief that most theoretical physicists are like Sheldon Cooper, which is not the case. uh, have I read Dune? Yes, I have read it. I've got it somewhere behind me or somewhere else. I have it somewhere. I have read Dune, the first book. Good book. It's not an easy read, but it's a good book. It's one of the great books. James Bond or Mission Impossible? I think I would go with James Bond. As a kid, I watched a lot of James Bond. Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and even Pierce Brosnan was good. Even Daniel Craig was good. So, uh, yeah. So from a personal perspective, I would say James Bond. I enjoyed that more. And now I don't know who's going to be the next James Bond and whether they're going to ruin the character or not, which is very likely, very possible. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say James Bond over that other thing. Stranger Things, I haven't watched it. I hear it's good. I don't know. B.R. Chopra Mahabharata, great. Even though the costumes are like stage costumes and the special effects are very rudimentary, and yet it's the greatest version of the Mahabharata ever filmed thus far. I'm sure there are more newer versions of Mahabharata that have come on TV. I've not watched any of those, but the one that always resonates with me is the B.R. Chopra version of Mahabharata. Yeah. Uh, Ayn Rand novels. I have read Atlas Shrugged and I have read The Fountainhead. That's like more than 20 years ago. And at one point in time, I was like very impressed with that. These days, I have a better, more holistic perspective of the world. The Ayn Rand philosophy is all about selfishness, the virtue of being selfish. That if every person is selfish and they develop themselves to the fullest extent, then it's great for the world. I think it's a myopic view. Yeah. At that time, when I was a student, I was really impressed with Ayn Rand and her books, these two books. And there was this professor of economics that I interacted with. So he was like, "What do you think?" He asked me once, "What do you think of Ayn Rand?" I was like, It's so great and all." He was like, Not quite the case." And I thought he's stupid. When you're young, you think you know everything, and everybody else is stupid. So I was like, "What is wrong with this guy? Such a wonderful philosophy, ideology, whatever." Now I am with him today. So if I meet him today, I would say, "Yes, you're right." So yeah, but it's something that's definitely worth a read. Definitely worth a read. The characters are unlikable. Howard Rourke is an unlikable character. Actually, it's these are just mediums for expounding a certain philosophy or ideology, but definitely worth a read. It's something that is worth reading, I would say, and you may learn something from that, or get a certain perspective on life. But yeah, it's today I'm not the biggest fan of that. Do I think there are extraterrestrials on Mount Kailash? Well, I don't know. I don't know. How will I know? I haven't been there. I've seen some videos on in which there appears to be some uh, activity there that cannot quite be explained. So possible, but I don't know. Do I think? I'm not sure. So I can't answer yes or no. I don't know. That's the only answer that I can give. How to deal with mentally colonized people? Okay, there are 8 extra minutes of injury time. Okay, we'll go back to that. How do you deal with mentally colonized people? You don't deal with them. You don't try to change their opinion. You don't try to argue with them. Once you realize somebody is mentally colonized, you will say good luck to them. You go ahead with your life. If you do change your mind at some point in time, it's up to you. It's not your responsibility to change everyone's mind. One thing I've learned in life is don't argue with people. If somebody has a different opinion, you say, okay, good luck. I respect your opinion. You have the right to have a different opinion, and that's it. I'm not going to attempt to change your opinion. Yeah. So there are people I see. I mean, I see comments every day that contradict me, that say that I am wrong, I'm stupid, I'm foolish, you're wrong, you're this. You don't argue with these people. It's fine. You have a different opinion. I respect that. So this channel is not for everybody. Obviously, it's not for people who. It's for, see, even I have been mentally colonized. Before 2016, I used to believe in the Aryan invasion theory. I used to believe it, and I used to get really annoyed with people who put forth a different opinion. I said that, why do you have to challenge everything? So I myself was like that. It's only when I went down to brass tacks and I looked at the primary evidence, instead of reading books, I went and looked at the actual research. That's when I realized that this is actually true. That the Aryan invasion theory is completely false. So I believe I have an open mind. I am open to changing my mind when I find new evidence and new data that shows me a different perspective. So it's about having an open mind. So if you find a mentally colonized person who is willing to engage in a constructive interaction, debate, whatever, and who is open minded and who is capable of constructive thinking, then you can engage them in conversation, dialogue, debate, whatever you want to call it. But there will be people who will just argue for the sake of arguing. They will not even listen to facts, data. Even if you show them all the facts, they will say you're wrong, and they will argue on the basis of opinions and all that, and emotions. So see, the so you don't deal with it, people. You don't argue with them. It's a waste of energy and time to argue with people. With most people, I would say with 99% of people, it's a waste of time to argue with them. You know, especially when they come with this attitude and then this dogmatic, uh, system, belief system. So the main thing is you don't deal with them. You don't argue with them. Don't waste your time arguing with people. Uh, Asterix versus Tintin. I think both were fun. Whoa, the French almost scored, but the goalkeeper saved Argentina. Wow, that was close. Boom. All right, great. So it's still 2-2. Asterix versus Tintin. I think Tintin was a Belgian comic. Goscinny and Uderzo were the creators of Tintin. I really enjoyed Tintin as a kid. As I grew older, I realized that there are elements of Belgian colonialism, attitudes, and all that in Tintin. Later, some of the Tintin comics were, kind of edited to take that out. Especially Tintin in Congo, for instance. Belgium has a horrific colonial record in the Congo region, for instance, if you don't know. Yeah. So otherwise, Tintin was fun as a kid for me to read, and in some cases it was actually good. For instance, there is this one episode or one book, Tintin book. I think it's the Castafiore Emerald, if I'm not mistaken, in which, is it the Castafiore Emerald or is it the Calculus Affair? I'm not sure which one it is, but in which they have portrayed Romanis as good people actually, and they've kind of called out the anti-Romani racism that the Europeans have. So that's also something that I noticed. Uh, so overall, I really enjoyed Tintin as a kid. Asterix was fun. Asterix is a French comic. It's from the Roman times. Asterix the Gaul and Obelix, his great partner. The names are really funny. The Gaulish names and the Gothic names and the Roman names. There's this guy called Vital Statistics. There is the dog's name is Dogmatics. Really funny. And I read the original comics in French as a kid. So it was fun. It was fun to read, and it's always portraying the Gauls, the French, as the underdogs against the Roman imperialists. It's fun to read the great fight in Caesar's Gift. So yeah, these are two comic book series that I really enjoyed as a kid. Did I read anything else? I think I read Lucky Luke. I don't think anyone knows about Lucky Luke in India. So that's something I read. I also read Rip Kirby from, I don't know, it's very old. There are some comic books that I read. It was fun to watch. Yeah. Fun to read, sorry. Um, Favorite cricket match. There have been many cricket matches. The favorite series were the last two series in Australia when India defeated Australia in Australia twice in a row. That was fun to watch. From the older series, I think, wow, Messi nearly scored. Monsieur Loris, good job, the goalkeeper. The 2001 series against Australia, in which India came back from 1-0 down and a follow-on down, and we defeated Australia 2-1 in a three-match series. It was all turned around with the help of Dravid and Lakshman, that enormous partnership. Lakshman scored 281. It kind of broke the mental colonization shackles of Indians, the inferiority complex, under the leadership of the great Saurav Ganguly. So that's one of the favorite series. Favorite matches, the World Cup matches against Pakistan. The 92 one I watched. It was good to watch. I think I watched some of it. I was not allowed to watch the whole of it, but yeah, India defeated Pakistan in that. I think I watched the last part. I was supposed to study. I remember Srinath yorked Miandad. The ball was so fast. This before the bat comes down, the ball was into the stumps. It was fun to watch that. Yeah, so there are lots of matches I can talk about. Very good matches. The Hero Cup, 1992 Hero Cup final against the West Indies. Anil Kumble took 6 for 12. And many more recent matches. The 2007 T20 World Cup final, the semi-final also. The match against England. The Misbah ul Haq incident. The scoop shot that he tried to play against Joginder Sharma. It was his last international match, but in his last ball in international cricket, but he got the most important wicket, and so on. There are many, many great matches. The 2011 World Cup final, Dhoni's 6, that sealed the deal for India. So many more. Castafiore Emerald. Yes, sir. Debarun. So you read it, huh? Good. Argentina. You gonna do it? Not gonna do it. I think it's time for extra time now. That's it. Here we are. It's 2-2 at the end of full time. Dal chawal, dal roti. It's a personal choice. You get protein from dal, and chawal roti is your carbohydrate, so it's a full meal. Yeah, and hopefully you will add some vegetable ingredients to your dal, like tomatoes and onion and garlic, and ginger, and coriander, maybe palak in the dal. So that'll give you a full meal. It's a personal choice whether you want to eat dal chawal or dal roti, or maybe both. Why not? Roti chawal, both are good sources of carbohydrates, good sources of energy. All right. So we are at the end of full time. It's a stalemate, 2-2. So we're gonna have extra time. So we'll see. Good match. It's going better than we expected. Yeah. Zhong Jina says, "Do you think George R.R. Martin will ever release The Winds of Winter?" The guy takes his time, so we don't know. If he does, great. Yeah. Okay, I seem to have missed. If I speak for 17 hours, I will remember everything and I will not miss anything. Muralidharan, yeah. Muralidharan was a wonderful, incredible bowler. Muthaiya Muralidharan was actually a leg spinner. You know what's leg spin? Leg spin is when you do this. Muralidharan was a leg spinner, but he used to do the wrist spin action, but the reverse wrist spin action, because he had this incredible flexibility in his wrist and some bone defect in his arm, which gave him this permanent bend in his arm. So because of that structural uniqueness of his arm, he was able to bowl that way. And he used to bowl these leg spinners, but they used to come out as off spinners. And he had this huge turn. And obviously, he's the highest wicket taker in Test match cricket. I think 800 wickets. Yeah. So yes, Murali is, I think he's an Indian citizen. Is he Sri Lankan citizen? I'm not sure. Maybe dual citizen if it's allowed in some cases. I think he lives in Chennai. So Murali is one of the maybe the greatest bowler of all time. At least if you talk about spin bowlers, I would say there are two great spin bowlers. The two greatest are Murali and Shane Warne. I really enjoyed watching Shane Warne more, because I at one point in time I myself was a leg spinner as a kid. Before I grew taller, I was a leg spinner. So yeah, so Murali and Shane Warne both have the same wrist spinning action. But yeah, so Dhyan Chand hockey, of course, one of the greatest players of all time. Sean Pollock, he's okay. He's okay. He's definitely one of the great all-rounders. Jacques Callis, I would say, is a greater all-rounder than Sean Pollock. Maybe Ravindra Jadeja is a greater all-rounder than maybe Ashwin. Not maybe, 100% Ashwin is greater than Sean Pollock as an all-rounder. Ashwin is greater than Wasim Akram as an all-rounder. Ashwin, Ashwin, if you look at his record as an all-rounder in Test match cricket, it is greater than that of Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan. Yeah. So yeah, that's the deal. Sachin Tendulkar, the batsman. Yeah. Yes, great batsman, great record. Statistically, the greatest ever, for sure. I can give you 500 more names. Bishan Singh Bedi, Erapalli Prasanna, Bhagwat Chandrasekhar, uh, Venkatapati Raju, if you remember the guy, Anil Kumble, like I've spoken of before, Zahir Khan, great left arm pace bowler, Javagal Srinath. Come on, you want to talk about other countries? Uh, what about Dale Steyn? Dale Steyn was a great bowler. He recently retired. Great bowler. What about Morne Morkel, Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner, Dennis Lille? I can give you 500 more names. I've not, and if I don't give a certain name, you'll say I've missed it. Come on, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. Um, have I heard Interstellar's theme song? I obviously have heard it. It's beautiful. I'm a huge music fan. I've been kind of an amateur musician in the past. I'm no longer one. I've not picked up the guitar in years. I still have it somewhere. I think it needs a new set of strings. No time. Yeah. But yes, yeah, yeah, huge, huge fan of music. I love music. I love weird music. I mean, you would call it weird music. I have a very eclectic taste in music and in literature, in almost everything. For instance, I really like the music of Mali, Western Africa. Western Africa is actually the birthplace of the blues music. So artists like Ali Farka Touré, Vieux Farka Touré, Toumani Diabate, Fatoumata Diawara. I mean, you may not have heard of any of these people, but their music is wonderful. I like the music of Ethiopia, Ethio jazz music from Ethiopia. You should try it out. Go to YouTube and search for Ethio jazz, Ethio, Ethio jazz. Wonderful. Very interesting music that comes out of Africa. I even like the music that comes from Somalia. That sounds kind of Indian. You can see there's an undercurrent of Indian influence in the music of Somalia. The overcurrent, if you were to call it that, is Arabic, but the undercurrent is Indian. There's a much deeper layer of Indian influence in Somali music, in Eastern African music, in the music of Kenya. Kenya has good music. I think every culture has a wonderful musical tradition. Sometimes it may take some time to get used to it, if you've never heard it before. But you listen to it a few times, it's interesting. So I look for music from all kinds of places. I listen to a lot of Celtic folk music, Celtic harp, and other instruments as well. And like you say, Interstellar's theme song, wonderful. I really like it. Views on Harry Potter. Harry Potter is casteist. It's got a 4-level caste system: Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff. What is that if not a caste system? And they even have the outcasts, the elves, right? And they have this what blood traitors and mudbloods. What did she do, J.K. Rowling? I think I've read all the books. Actually, I have read all of them. They're not bad. They're actually quite interesting. I would not spend the time and read 7 books. I did that more than 10 years ago, but I did read all the books. They were good books, but over time you kind of see the undercurrents. Where does all this come from? So it's interesting that J.K. Rowling created a 4-level caste system in her mythology, in her book. Interesting. But yeah, it was fun to read more than watch. Even the movies were okay, I guess. Even I've seen the movies too, I'm sure. This is a good question. Is Kutchi spoken in Balochistan? I'm not sure, but it's possible because Kutch is right next to Balochistan. Kutch is next to Sindh, and Sindh is next to Balochistan. There was a time when Balochi was the primary language in Karachi. Karachi, yeah, not Sindhi. Balochi was once the primary language in Karachi. So Sindh, Kutch, Balochistan are more or less neighboring regions of India. Temporarily Pakistan. We know that. Okay, no need to remind me. But yeah, you know what I mean. Yes. So yeah, it's a good question, but I don't have any sources in Balochistan today. I don't know how it is today. There's been a lot of social engineering and ethnic cleansing in Pakistan after 1947. So I'm not sure what the situation is now. But Balochistan, historically, I'm sure Kachi would have been spoken in the past over there. Yeah. What's the most interesting thing about quantum mechanics? The most interesting thing about quantum mechanics is that we don't quite understand what it's trying to tell us. There are various interpretations of quantum mechanics, yeah, and they don't agree with each other. And there is something hidden. We don't quite know what it is, and that's a big mystery. We don't quite understand what causes collapse, the collapse of the wave function. We don't know the role that consciousness may or may not play in this. Uh, does it lead to parallel universes, the many worlds interpretation, which is a very serious and highly regarded uh, interpretation of quantum mechanics? Lots of physicists actually uh, are on the side of the many worlds interpretation. What exactly is entanglement? How does it work? There are lots of mysteries. It's so mysterious, and it's where our world universe comes from. Everything, all of this is quantum mechanical. Yeah, quantum mechanics is at the heart of everything in the world, and we don't understand it. There is something, there is more than something that we don't quite understand. We know how to use the equations, we know how to calculate things, we know how to use quantum mechanics as the basis of various technologies. This broadcast, this telecast would not be happening without without technologies that are based in quantum mechanics. Yeah, and yet we know how to use it, but we don't know what it's telling us. You know, so yeah, that's what makes it so interesting, so fascinating. Right. How do I rate Sigur Rós? Sigur Rós is a Nordic band, alternative rock or something. Um, there are elements of folk also to it, if I'm not mistaken. I do remember listening to their music at some point in time. So yeah, it's not quite ringing a bell exactly what the genre of music is. I do remember that I kind of liked it. Yeah, but I haven't really gone deep into their music. So yeah, I'm definitely aware of it. Right. Monsieur Mbappe is kind of injured on the ground. On the ground, yes, he's awaiting some treatment. You eat kachi dabeli? I must have eaten it in the past, but not a regular eater. It's been many years since I may have tasted it. Yeah, but I have certainly eaten. I have eaten it. Yes, I have eaten it. Django Unchained. I think I watched the movie. It was a reasonably good movie. Um, yeah, so I have watched it. I Was it Quentin Tarantino? I like Tarantino's movies. Very, very interesting movies. Very stylistic, and obviously there is he creates his alternative history stories and all that. And some of the movies are kind of ridiculous at times, but always fun to watch. Always fun to watch. Argentina, you gonna do something? Nah. Okay. So yeah, Django Unchained, I have watched. Uh, no, 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 no. That is wrong grammar. It is eated. Eated. I have not eated. Please, 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 please. I my grammar is perfect. The correct term is eated. How do you say that I want to make a balloon bigger? You say I'm going to embiggen it. I'm going to bigify it. So I've got this balloon. It's medium size. I want to make it larger. I will say I will bigify, embiggen the balloon. And when the past tense of eating of eat is eated, not eaten. Uh, what was the origin of Ahura Mazda? India. So Ahura Mazda is the the primary god in Zoroastrianism, right? Obviously, we know that. Zoroastrianism, by the way, is a polytheistic religion. It's not a monotheistic religion. Everybody tells, most historians will tell you this, most of your history teachers will tell you this, and most people believe this, that Zoroastrianism is the original monotheistic religion. Nothing could be further from the truth. Zoroastrianism is a polytheistic religion. They have multiple levels of divinities. All right. Now, what is the origin of Ahura Mazda? Well, you could consider Zoroastrianism to be a kind of revisionist version of Hinduism. Yeah, it all originates with Zarathustra. Zarathustra was born, I believe, in Balkh, which was then a part of India. It was part of Balkh is currently a part of Afghanistan, which historically in the old days was part of India until just the past millennium or so. So Zarathustra was born Indian, and he was born obviously a Hindu, because before him there was no other religion, or no other, there was only Hinduism. So whatever he came up with emerged out of the cultural milieu that he was raised in. And if you look at Zoroastrianism, it's merely an inversion of Hinduism. So the devas are portrayed as bad guys, and the asuras are portrayed as good guys. In what we call Hinduism, the devas are the good guys, and the asuras have somewhat negative connotations. Yeah. So the Zoroastrianism has essentially inverted that. That's more or less it. And Ahura Mazda is the primary divinity. So all of this originates out of Hinduism. Most of the Zoroastrian rituals, rites, traditions, practices, and philosophy, most of it is rooted in the old Vedic religion of India. Okay, nothing else has happened thus far. The French have received a corner, a corner. So let's see what they will do from that. Okay, Jongina says, what made Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, a great leader? How does he compare to someone like Deng Xiaoping? Well, Deng Xiaoping, for starters, was never a soldier. Deng Xiaoping was an administrator. He was a politician. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was primarily a soldier, a war fighter. He was a leader of men in battle. He faced bullets. He had bullets fly past him. I'm sure he was injured on occasion. He saw everything you can ever possibly witness on a field of battle. He faced death on a routine basis. Yeah, and he won. He succeeded, and he put his life and everything on the line in the Turkish War of Independence. Yeah, in the early 1920s. He stood up to the European powers. He stood up to the Ottoman Sultan, and he defeated them all, and he won independence for Turkey. For Turkey. So just one guy did this through his strength of character, strength of personality, and strength of leadership. So he was a soldier. He was a warrior. He was a leader, general, whatever you want to call him. Yeah. And then once he took off his uniform after the Turkish War of Independence, he never wore the uniform again. And then he was the leader of the country, administrator. Yeah. So he essentially played two roles in his lifetime. One was that of a soldier, and second, that of the leader of his nation, the father of his nation. So that's what made Ataturk a great leader. Was he a brutal guy? He was a dictator. He ensured that he was a dictator. He ensured that all his opposition was crushed. That's what you got to do, and that's what it did. And he obviously dragged Turkey forcibly out of the 19th century and into the modernity of the 20th century. He created Turkey as a modern, progressive, scientific oriented, all that progress oriented nation, a secular nation, a secular nation. But he was not able to turn it into a democracy. Maybe he did not want that. So if you look at the history of Turkey after Ataturk's death, I think it was in 1938 that he died. After that, it's always been mostly army rule. Yeah, nowadays we have a quasi-democratic process or whatever, but that's how it is. So Ataturk, just one man dragged Turkey out of the Middle Ages and into the 20th century, and one man gave freedom to Turkey. Just one man. Obviously, people fought under him and they followed orders, but it was this one guy without whom nothing would have happened. Even Winston Churchill's plan in 1915, was it, of invading Turkey? the Gallipoli invasion, that was foiled only by one man. He went against the orders of his superiors, and he took certain decisions that he was not allowed to, he was not supposed to, and that's what saved Turkey from the British, and that's what caused this terrible humiliation to Winston Churchill. So that is what made Ataturk great. Deng Xiaoping was not a fighter. He was not a soldier. He was a politician. What he did is that he brought China out of the days of Mao Zedong, and he brought in progress and modernity and capitalism. He essentially tried to recreate what Lee Kuan Yew had done in the city state of Singapore. Now, it's very easy to reform a city state in 20 years, and that's what Lee Kuan Yew did. Within a generation, he took Singapore out of third world status, and he made it a first world nation, a first world city state, a modern city state, in just barely a generation. That's what Lee Kuan Yew did. Deng Xiaoping tried to do that for China, an enormous nation. Yeah, the same thing. And what China is today is largely because of the process that Deng Xiaoping set in motion. So you can't quite compare Lee Kuan Yew to Deng Xiaoping to Ataturk. Ataturk had a smaller nation, but it still bore the legacy of the Ottoman Empire, and he was able to turn it into a reasonably successful 20th century modern nation state. And it would not have been possible without Ataturk. So three different people, and they have different legacies. Today, I think they're trying to erase the legacy of Ataturk in Turkey, because he essentially tried to secularize Turkey. He changed the holiday from Friday to Sunday. He banned the Islamic veil and the burqa and all that for women. Uh, he brought in a uniform civil code in Turkey, and lots of these reforms that are now they are trying to undo today. So there is in certain sections, I believe, of Turkish society, there is some kind of dislike or maybe even hatred for Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, but they would not be enjoying the quality of life and whatever they have today had he not done the things that he did. Yeah, so that's the deal. That is the deal. Okay, so it's still 2-2. We're almost at the end of extra time, and the Argentines almost scored. They did not get a corner, they wanted a corner. So that is ongoing. Uh, why is Timur not praised like Genghis Khan? Both were step conquerors. Well, please study history, then you will understand. Timur was a genocidal barbarian. He conquered for the sake of conquering and for the sake of killing and for the sake of plunder. Genghis Khan conquered for very different reasons. So I'm not gonna go into the details now, but Timur was a brutal, monstrous, bloodthirsty, genocidal barbarian. Genghis Khan was not. They say that Genghis Khan caused the deaths of I don't know how many million people. Uh, I would like to see the primary sources on which that these figures are based. They say that Genghis Khan killed, let's say, 30 million people or something. Yeah. Um, if you see, even if we were to take that as a fact, let's say that is correct, that maybe he killed, let's say, 30 million people. Have you seen the amount of territory in square kilometers that he conquered? If you take the number of deaths divided by the territory, then you will come to a figure of how many people died during the conquests of Genghis Khan per square kilometer. I promise you, it's going to be less than the number of people per square kilometer who died in the US invasion of Iraq, in the Second World War, in the Bangladesh War, which Pakistan created, yeah, the genocide they did, and many other wars. I can guarantee that the per square kilometer death toll in the conquest of Genghis Khan was lower than all these modern campaigns. So it's just it's just a Eurocentric perspective of demonizing a non-Abrahamic conqueror. Okay, Timur is an Abrahamic warlord. He was an Abrahamic warlord. So yeah, Timur was a brutal barbarian, and you can never forgive him for what he did in Iran, in Persia, and in India. Even the Persians hate him. The Persians despise Timur. There must be a reason for that. Yeah, he was a brutal barbarian, brute, monster, and he killed 100,000 innocent men, women, and children in one day in Delhi. Yeah. So let's not equate apples with oranges. And if you say I'm biased because Genghis Khan did not hurt India, well, I'm biased. Deal with it. I'm gonna see it from my perspective. That's how it is. All right. Let's see what other. Yeah, some questions are being repeated, so I will not take those. Why isn't Putin using nukes? It will be fun. I expect you're 12 or 13 years old, which is why you have asked this question, right? So we are still at 2-2 in the final. Will Argentina or France prevail? Thus far, it's still a tie. Um, uh, Advaita Vedanta. It's a very, very, very complex topic. So, yeah. Uh, I was about to click on something else and I got a different question. Saurabh says Akshay Kumar is going to play the role of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. My opinion. Look, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, when he started his career as a great leader, as one of the greatest kings and leaders India has ever seen, he was not a 50-year-old man. What is Akshay Kumar's age? He's clearly above 50. Why can't they find a younger actor to portray the young Shivaji Maharaj? I don't understand these things. That's the criticism everybody has. That why do they have to? Why can't they discover young talent? If you look at the West, they keep on unearthing new talent. Whenever there's a new series that comes up, they find new actors and actresses to portray the roles. They actually have screen tests and all that. In the case of Bollywood, it's the same old every time, all the time. It's tiresome to see the same faces. I do not want to see the same old tired face portraying the role of the great leader, the great warrior, the great king, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So I am going to give it a miss. I'm not watching the series or movie or whatever it is that's coming out. I would like somebody else to do it. Why can't the Marathi film industry do it? Their own version of the life and career of the great Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Maybe a 10-part series, 1 hour per episode. Why not that way? Why do we need a Bollywood actor to portray the great man? I don't understand. No goal. Still 2-2. Okay. It's still going on. I think Argentina have scored. I think Argentina have scored. Is it the case? Is it the case? I think it is. Yeah, baby. Argentina has scored. It's 3-2. I'm waiting for the confirmation on the scorecard. It still says 2-2 on the scorecard. But the ball certainly crossed the line. It went inside the net. And Monsieur Griezmann is sitting very pensively. He's not very happy. Let us see. It is still saying 2-2, but I think that the ball went into the net. Let us see. I'm watching the replay. It's not offside for sure. And the ball is parried. And yes, it's a goal. It's 3-2. It's definitely 3-2. Suhani says it's 3-2. I agree. Now it says 3-2 on the scorecard. So it looks like Argentina may once again have the upper hand. Yes, it looks like there's still how many minutes to go? I think 10 minutes to go, roughly. So still 10 minutes. The French still have some time in which they can make a comeback. We shall see. What exactly is longboarding? Longboarding is a sport, I think. Let me just go do a Google search. Am I? Oh, you mean yeah. Longboarding. Uh, I am familiar with the shorter uh, skateboard. Longboarding is a longer version of that. Yeah. So I've never done that. I've done briefly ice skating. It's not hard. The professional ice skaters, they use this thin blades, steel blades, or whatever metal it is. As a beginner, you're given a thicker blade, thicker plastic blade. So I think the first time I tried it, it took me about 15-20 minutes to get the hang of it. You fall and stumble a few times. You should wear a jeans or something. It's quite cold. And then you slice, you get the bearings, you get the balance and all. So I have done ice skating a few times as a kid, a long, long, long time ago. It was fun. Okay, this question I've got a million times. Best books on Maurya, Rajput, Maratha Empire. Maurya, Rajput, Maratha Empire. Uh, Most of the knowledge I have acquired about the Mauryas, about the Rajputs, etc., is been through not through books, through research articles, journal articles, all that. Uh, uh, there are very few books written about Rajputs. I'm sure there's this book about the great king Prithviraj Chauhan, authored by Virendra Singh Rathore. I think he no, I don't think I know that he has been on my podcast a couple of times. So that's one. But as such, our wonderful historians have not written much about the Rajputs. There are books about the Marathas, but I haven't read those. I am not that. Uh, I have not studied Maratha history in that much depth. Actually, that's something I need to rectify in the future. I will read more about it, and so that's the case. So to answer your question, I don't have recommendations. I don't actually have recommendations. Uh, like I said, our historians have not really paid much attention to the history of the Rajputs, and if for the Mauryans, I think you can read the books of R.C. Majumdar, etc., because no new research has been done in the past century. No new archaeological work has been done in roughly the past century that brings new facts to light about the Mauryans. So whatever was written 70, 80 years ago, it's still valid. So maybe you should read the books of R.C. Majumdar. Descended of Rigvedic clans, says recently some Soma evidence was found in Indus Valley civilization, 4,500 BC years old. Spoked wheel was also found. Yeah, that's good. The Soma evidence is the interpretation of the bull or some animal is Soma. Is Soma. That's what it was. So yeah, I still haven't studied that in detail. What new evidence seems to have been found? Spoked wheels. I would not be surprised if they find more evidence of spoked wheels and all that. So yeah, as and when new evidence comes out, new facts come out, I will certainly study it, and if it is something significant, I will certainly speak about it. Oh yeah, but I'm aware of this. Yeah. Um, Once again, questions about chess. I already answered the same question a bit earlier about chess. My views on Kundalini Yoga, I don't know much about Kundalini Yoga. I have never done it myself, practiced it myself. I am myself not even very clear about what Kundalini is. It's a form of energy, it is said and all. Uh, Rila Hota spoke about it briefly, Kundalini, but not in great depth because we did not go into that was not the subject of the discussion. So so I'm not very much of an expert or even slightly of an expert about this. Okay, first chakra. Views on Vikings. You mean the series or the people? The people are the old Nordic people, the ancestors of today's of the people of modern day Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. Not Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway. Their ancestors were the Vikings. They were these the polytheistic Europeans. They followed the old uh, Indo-European religion, culture, whatever. Yeah, they had this polytheistic pantheon of gods. The primary, most powerful god was Thor, which is the Nordic version of the god Indra. And the story of Indra and Thor is the same. Yeah, more or less the same. Thunder god, hammer god, who defeats a great sea serpent. In the case of Indra, it is Vritra. In the case of Thor, it is Jormungandr, the great sea serpent, and so on. So yeah, they were conquerors. They were looters, pillagers. They launched wave after wave of expedition on Europe, expeditions on Europe, primarily England, northern England, and also France. Um they conquered England. Lots of people in northern England, they have Viking ancestry, Nordic ancestry. They conquered France. The French king offered a big chunk of France to the leader of the Vikings, Rollo the Viking, and Rollo became the first Duke of Normandy. And his great great grandson was William, who was called Guillaume the Bastard. They called him William the Bastard because his father was not married to his mother. Yeah, he was an illegitimate son, but he went on to become William the Conqueror, who conquered England, the last king, the last invader to successfully conquer England in the year 1066. And so, yeah, all that. Yeah. So that's briefly about the Vikings. Yeah. Okay. Penalty? Do we have penalty? That would be fun. Ah, we may have a penalty. Somebody's elbow. We have a penalty. France has got a penalty. Would you believe it? Twists and turns. Godfather movies, Vito Corleone, Al Pacino. Yes, I have watched the Godfather movies. Part 1 and part 2 was wonderful. Part 3, not so good. Part 2 may be the greatest Godfather movie of them all, Al Pacino's coming of age. The coming of age is actually in part 1. Part 2 is more about the backstory of the original Godfather, and so on. So yeah, great movies, great movies. Certainly something you can watch repeatedly, like not every day, but once a couple of years. It's always good to watch it. Okay, Mbappe is going to take the penalty. Let us see what happens. Is he going to score? My goodness, what a match! What a match, Monsieur Kylian Mbappe. Is it going to be 3-3? Let us see. Here we go. Here we go. It is 3-3. It is 3-3. Wonderful, wonderful. Goal. Anisha says 3-3. Wonderful. So this looks like a classic, one of the classic World Cup final matches. Did Castro really survive 600 assassination attempts? I think there is a little bit of a mythology that's been built around him. I'm sure he must have survived lots of assassination attempts. After all, the Americans wanted him dead. So it is possible. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but yes, he did survive many assassination attempts. Favorite self-help book? I can't think of any. I don't really read self-help books. I've tried reading some, but it's nearly never really appealed to me. Okay, do we have some other interesting questions? Looks like I'm very tired. Do I look extremely tired? Have I been lifting weights, running a marathon? No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Naruto series. I have not watched Naruto. I hear the kids love it. I have not watched Naruto, but it seems to be a very popular anime, right? And there are like 2-3 different iterations or versions of Naruto, and I'm told there are some filler episodes and some episodes that are kind of boring and all that. And there is a fox with 9 tails or something, and there is this great Indian guru who gives knowledge to Naruto. Yeah, I've heard it's fun, but I've never watched it. Where is it? I was clicking on something else and something else came up. Here we are. The Dictator. Are you referring to the movie? It's one of the great movies. One of the greatest movie speeches of all time. Charlie Chaplin. And yeah, France are saved. The great Oh, you are referring to the Sacha Baron Cohen movie, The Dictator? That's also a fun movie, but not as great as the original Charlie Chaplin movie. The Charlie Chaplin movie was wonderful. Show Naruto and Naruto Shippuden is the best movie music ever. All right. Uh, Shawshank Redemption is, yeah, it's a great movie. It's a very long movie, but I think it's worth it. If you have the patience to watch a 3 hour plus movie, I think it's 3 hour plus, if I'm not mistaken. Once again, I watched it a long time ago. It's a great movie. Yeah. Uh, should India replace its capital city? Delhi is polluted and congested. Maybe it's not a bad idea. There are many people who say that Delhi is cursed. It's got bad luck. It's had so many terrible events. The massacre at the hands of Timur the Barbarian. Yeah. Uh, and what happened to Hemachandra Vikramaditya? People say it's been cursed since the days of Indraprasth. You know, it's brought with it bad luck, a lot of bad luck. People say, if you look at the track record of various capitals, then then Peshawar and Mathura were great capitals. uh, during the time of the Kushan Empire. uh, Kanishka the Great, our great emperor, had two main capitals. The western capital was Peshawar, Purushpur, it was called at the time, or Pushkalavati, and the eastern capital was Mathura. So those two were good capitals. Maybe we should bring Peshawar back as the capital of India, but it's too far to the west of India, isn't it? I mean, temporarily part of Pakistan, but you know what we mean there. Or maybe Patliputra was a great capital. It was the capital of the Mauryans. It was the capital of the Shunga Empire. It was the capital of the Gupta Empire as well. So maybe we should bring Patliputra back as capital. It's now called Patna. So maybe we should rename it to the original name, Patliputra. Um, or maybe we should create a whole new capital somewhere more centrally located, perhaps. So yeah, maybe it's not a bad idea to get ourselves a new capital, because Delhi is definitely congested. There's a lot of pollution, especially in winter, because of what happens in neighboring states. The stubble burning, they call it. Yeah. So maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe. Right. So it's still 3-3, and we're about to maybe enter a penalty shootout. Maybe. Ujjain was a great capital for some period of time in India. Ujjain was the city of the Indian Meridian. Oopsie baby, oopsie, 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 oopsie. Argentina is trying for sure, and yeah, okay. Nada Nashi says CIA director praises our PM over Russia. I am confused. See, if you pay attention to people's words, you will always be confused. That's why I keep repeating. I don't know how many times I must have repeated myself. Don't pay attention to people's words. Just look at their actions. If you will pay attention to words, you will be confused throughout your life. And that's what I'm seeing here. It doesn't matter what the CIA director said. Oh man, how did France miss that? They had a golden opportunity. Only the goalkeeper to beat. Man. Ale, ale, Messi, ale. Now Argentina is in the box. And they don't score. So yeah, see, listen, please stop paying attention to people's words. Some people are easy to flatter. Some people love flattery. It is very easy to mislead them with words. So yeah, the Americans know that historically Indians have been very easy to mislead and fool. Say nice words, give some nice treatment, but don't give anything of substance. That worked with people like the great magnificent Mr. Nehru and all that, but it won't work today. It will not work today. Let them praise, matters not. So words don't matter. Please stop being confused. Yeah. 3 time zones for India is what Project Heisenberg asks. I think it's not a bad idea. Uh, I think even during the British times, Chennai, which was then called Madras, had a different time zone than Mumbai. Good God, Mbappe. Now, Chennai was about 30 minutes ahead of Mumbai during British times, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And India is such a vast geographical region. If you are in, let's say, Manipur or Nagaland or whatever, in the far east of India, the sun rises before 5 a.m. Why should it be that way? So I think Eastern India and Western India should be in different time zones. Maybe 3 time zones make sense for India. And I don't think it will cause a lot of confusion. Even the Chinese have a single time zone, which makes no sense whatsoever. But that's how it is. All right, it's full time even after extra time. 3-3. What a match. We are going into a penalty shootout. All right. All the best, both teams. So the Argentines succeeded in once again allowing the opposition to wipe out a 2-0 advantage. But yeah, they're still holding firm at 3-3. I have not watched Get Out. I'm not even aware of the movie. Uh, how to develop a good work ethic? You have to focus on routine. Routine is boring, especially for people who are creative, but you need a routine. So it's something you develop over time. It's like a muscle, you need some mental strength, some determination, some willpower, but also you need to have a set routine. If you develop a set routine which is going to give you the right kind of output, then that will help you develop a good work ethic. Yeah, it's not about motivation, it's about creating a system. Motivation will bring you nowhere. Motivation is for emotional people who are driven by moods and emotions. You can watch a motivational video, it will give you a high for 30 minutes or 1 hour, and then you go back to the ground state. And then what? So, success is not about motivation. Success is about creating the right system that will give you the right work ethic. Yeah. So, you need to have a system in which you wake up at a certain time, you eat a certain kind of food at a certain time, and so time to so and so time, you do a certain kind of activity, and so on. If you stick to that, you will automatically have a good work ethic. Yeah. And obviously, the work that you are doing should be something that interests you and something that you enjoy. Sometimes it can even be something that you don't enjoy, but you have to do. But in that case, even in that case, if you have a right, if you have the right system, then that will give you a good work ethic. Discipline comes from having the right system and following the right system. All right. Okay. Will Elon Musk succeed in colonizing Mars? Time will tell us. He already has the technology. Yeah. Uh, he has built the Starship rocket. It's not been tested fully yet. It's not gone into Earth orbit or Moon orbit or something. It's the rocket that is supposed to take humans to the moon. So it's being tested. They are constantly testing their systems, their rockets, their engines, and all that. So that's how you ensure that the system works. Because when you have a rocket like the Starship that they are building, you're going to put like 50 people or 100 people on board, and you don't want that rocket to fail. That would be a disaster. If you have like 3 people on a rocket and the rocket fails and the people for whatever reason lose their life, it is tragic. But it's not something that is as bad as losing 50 people. So it's going to be something that they're going to have to be very careful about. But I don't see why he should not succeed in colonizing Mars. I mean, at least putting human shoes, human feet on Mars. It should happen, I would say, in the next 10 to 20 years for sure. And I hope there are no, accidents along the way. So here we are. We are in a penalty shootout, and it's gonna be fun. So who's taking it first? Okay, the two goalkeepers are shaking hands, wishing each other all the best. uh, that's fine. Okay, how to become a tyrant? Netflix. I've not seen that. No. Um, Twilight Saga. Ugh. I think I saw the first movie in the Twilight Saga. It was okay. It was okay. Very kind of boring. So I did not watch any of the other movies. I watched the first one out of curiosity, and then I decided not to watch the other ones. Okay, Monsieur Mbappe will take the first one, and it's 1-0 to France. Okay, good. Mbappe. So France are going first, which means the Argentines are under more pressure. The goalkeeper got his hands to it, but it still went in. Uh, Interesting question. Sons of Anarchy. I have watched it. I thought it was great. It was kind of dark, and at the end, it was very dark and kind of sad, but overall, a great series. I watched it many years ago. Great series. Money Heist, no, I have not watched it. Okay, Messi is gonna take it now. Big responsibility. And he scored 1-1. Messi always takes the gentlest of all penalties, but and the goalkeeper was almost able to make it. But yeah, it went in. So yeah, it's 1-1. How to read effectively and to have a memory retention like me. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything special or different about me. My philosophy when I read something is that it is all right to forget everything you're reading in case it doesn't interest you. So I give myself permission to forget everything. If I read a book and I remember nothing afterwards, it's fine. I don't care. Oh my goodness. Argentina have saved a penalty. It is a disaster for France. And the Argentine goalkeeper is all pumped up. So, if you go into reading a book with the pressure that you have to memorize and remember everything, it's going to be very counterproductive. I go in, I look at every book in the way that it's okay to not even finish the book. It's okay to start in the middle if I look at the chapters and I find something that's pertinent to what I'm looking for, or something that interests me. And maybe if I find that chapter good, then I'll read the whole book, or maybe not. And it's okay to forget things if they're not interesting. That's how I do it. That's maybe why I remember things. Argentina have scored. So now we are 2-1 up, I think. Vámonos, Argentina. Yes. So now France are under pressure. France are under pressure. Saurabh says, is Panini the greatest of all time? He's definitely the father of linguistics, and maybe his Ashtadhyayi is possibly the greatest human achievement of all time, of all history of mankind. Possibly, quite possibly, it's an incredible achievement. A complete algorithmic grammar for a language. It's like you created a machine, an algorithmic machine that will give you the right language, Sanskrit, for Sanskrit. Okay, let's see. France, will they score? Oh my God, France are done. Almost done. Second penalty missed. This one went wide of the post. This is the disaster for France. Who is this guy? That is terrible. Okay. And the Argentine goalkeeper is very happy, very pleased with himself. So it's 2-1. And now Argentina are going to take the next penalty kick. Why are there lots of African players in the in European teams? Because the history of colonialism, the French especially. France represents Africa today. It looks like Argentina have scored again. It's 3-1. It's 3-1. It's almost done. Almost done. Almost there. Now France have no option but to score. They have no option but to score. Otherwise, it's done. Let us see. Is it possible for AI to get consciousness? I think it's unlikely that AI will ever become conscious. And if you want to go deeper into it, please watch my latest podcast with Dr. Subhash Kak, which was just 2-3 weeks ago. We discussed this in that. Okay, France is going to take the next attempt, and they have scored. Colomwani, I think it was. Good job. And now the French goalkeeper has to save the next penalty. Otherwise, they're done. Otherwise, the goose is cooked. Favorite programming language? For the longest time, it was C. Now it's Python. Yeah, I've used all kinds of programming languages, but never Java. Yeah. Will I see Shark Tank India season 2? I've not even seen season 1. I've seen the American Shark Tank, really interesting, the old seasons. Nowadays, it's kind of is boring, you see, because of various reasons. So I've not seen the Indian Shark Tank season 1. I heard it was good, reasonably good, which is good, but I've not seen it. Let's see now. Argentina have won the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, shirts off. Argentina are the new champions. Good for them. Good for Messi. I'm happy for Messi. I don't have any other special preference for any nation, which is not mine. But I like Messi, so for that reason, I'm glad to see Argentina win. A fitting end to Messi's great career. It was the one thing that was missing for him, and I'm sure lots of people will be pleased for him. I'm pleased for him. It's a win for it's a win for football. Yeah, I yeah, definitely agree. Uh, good match, really good match to watch. 2-0, then 2-2, then 3-2, then 3-3, and then my, my views on Bhutto's latest stupidity. The guy's an idiot. Come on. He's not a diplomat, first of all. He is not even a proper politician. He's a dynast. He is in politics, and he is at whatever position he is in because of his mom. His mom is boy. His surname should be Zardari, actually, because in the subcontinent and worldwide, we typically, historically, have had a patrilineal system. So, according to his own culture, his surname should be Bilawal Zardari, but he calls himself Bilawal Bhutto because his mother was the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, right? So that's beside the point. But so the thing is that he's a dynast. He's not even a competent politician. Yeah, he can't win an election on his own. He has this aura and this shadow of his mother over himself, and he's not even a qualified diplomat, a career diplomat, or any. He doesn't have any diplomatic credentials or whatever. Yeah, so he has spoken the way an idiot would speak. So why do we have to pay a lot of attention to it? It's I don't even know what he said. Okay, by the way, I've not listened to his comments. I've not heard his comments. I've not read a transcript of what he said. It appears like he said something insulting to our prime minister. Well, when you walk on the street and a dog barks at you, will you take it as a personal insult? You will disregard it, right? Yes. So we've got to disregard these things. These people don't matter. He is a nobody. He is a nobody. That's what he is. So it's fine. If I remember correctly, Imran Khan, when he was prime minister, he was very frustrated and upset that Mr. Modi never ever that Mr. Modi never had a telephone conversation with him or whatever, completely ignored him. But Imran Khan never descended to such a level of using insulting or abusive or you know unacceptable language for the leader of a nation. Imran Khan never did that, as far as I remember. And this immature person, Bilawal Bhutto, has gone ahead and said something stupid. Just disregard it. The way you would disregard a stray dog barking at you for whatever reason, you just ignore it. Same way, yeah. So yes, Argentina and Messi the God, very happy, good for him. India Unleashed says history has been created for Messi. I agree. It's the cherry on top of a great career. Good for him. Good for him. Very happy to see that. And he is now overjoyed in tears, and that's fine. Vladimir Adityanath says Bilawal's mother also spewed a huge amount of venom and tried terrorism and Hindu genocide. Same for Zulfikar. What's a surprise here? Absolutely no surprise, and totally right. Uh, Bilawal's mother, Benazir, was a virulent Indophobe. Monsieur Ibrahimovic is watching. Anyway, yeah, so Benazir was the mother of the Taliban. Yeah, and she was very much anti-India, deeply this hatred. And Bilawal's father also was very hateful towards India, despite apparently being a Rajput or something. Yeah, was he a Rajput? Bhuttos are Sindhi Rajputs, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong, but that's the impression that I get that Bhuttos are of Rajput lineage, converted Rajputs. So it's strange to see all this, yeah. But it's okay. It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. Okay, okay. Yes, Argentina won. That is right. How to learn a you mean language? How to learn a language? I the easiest way to learn a language is to immerse yourself in an environment where that language is the primary language that's spoken. So for instance, how do you learn French? You go to France and spend a week there, not a week there, spend a month there among people who speak only French. Then you have no option but to find ways to communicate in only for that you have to pick up French. If you place yourself in an environment where you are immersed in that language, then you're going to learn it very easily. Otherwise, you have to find the right book or the right technique or whatever, and that's a hit and miss kind of thing. So the way I learned French was I was immersed in a French environment. So as a kid, you pick up a language very fast, very rapidly. You don't even realize when you started speaking the language. As you get older, it becomes harder to pick up a language. So either you immerse yourself in that language and you practice it 7 8 9 hours a day, or you find the right program or right book, which can be hit or miss. If you get lucky, you'll find the right one, otherwise not. That's how it is. Anyhow, my friends, Argentina has won. I am happy to see that. Sorry, I'm kind of sad for France as well. They also had a good team. Jay says, j'apprends le français avec Duolingo. I hear Duolingo is good. That's what I hear. So good if it's helping you. It's good. Yeah. The main thing is you should be able to speak, communicate. It's one thing to learn how to read and write, but speaking is a whole different thing. Okay, so we are at the end of the telecast and we have crossed 3.5 hours of this live stream. So I think I'm gonna end it today for here. I had picked a whole bunch of questions from the comments, but obviously I'm not going to be able to take them. So maybe in the next episode I'll pick up some of those questions that you'd asked me this week. All right. So I'm gonna end it here. Thank you very much for being with me, for watching the match with me, despite a World Cup match being on and all. Yeah. Last question, Million Dollar Baby. I watched it. It was kind of sad, but it was a good movie. Yeah. Clint Eastwood was the director and one of the protagonists. Anyhow, so my dear friends, thank you so much for being on this telecast with me on the live stream. Take care, and I will see you in next week's live streams. Until then, take care. Take good care of your health, and see you soon.